Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I am your host, Ironbeard, and welcome to the tavern. I am glad to have you all here today. It has been an early start for me, so we are going to go over a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is relationships. Red pill content, as it were. I don't go over this stuff nearly often enough due to my own complacency in my own life. But I digress. There is an amount of discussion in this bubble that exists. And it's a topic that I like discussing and grinding gears on because, as we used to say back in seminary, iron sharpens iron as man sharpens man. And you're never going to go anywhere unless you talk about these things. So, today we are going to go over To Be Better. For those of you who don't know, To Be Better podcast is very solid. They got some great stuff. If you don't follow them, go follow them on YouTube. I believe they're on TikTok as well. Actually, I saw a clip from their part two that I wanted to go over, but I would be remiss if I didn't go over the entire thing. So, it's going to be a long one today. It's going to be a long one, and a lengthy one, and a full one, as it were, because there's a lot to digest in these things. There's a lot to discuss, and I hope you brought your coffee. So, for those of you who don't know, I am Ironbeard. This is the Anvil and Brew Tavern. Pull yourself up a drink, kick your feet up by the fire, and let's get into it.
Broken down into multiple sections. This first part is quotes from.
Also, I'm gonna pause right here just because I left. So, for those of you who don't know, Chris and Peaches are obviously married. He put together the podcast. However, she like frames it. Like she'll go out of her way to build bullet points and talking points and pull up emails and stuff for them. And I actually love this for them. It goes without saying, I do think that men should provide an environment of masculinity and dominance for women to exist within because that's generally what they enjoy. However, I also think that it's a fantastic thing that she does her job in that she kind of gets everything prepared for him. Like this is a dual what's the word I'm looking for? This is a dual project for them. This isn't his podcast, it's not her podcast. It's their podcast. And so while obviously he put together the equipment and set up the studio, she does the footwork as far as pulling up emails, putting them on the screens, and all that stuff goes. And I absolutely love that for them. There's something to be said for a woman who is feministic, is feminine. I apologize, and who she does her job for him just as much as he does his job for her, and I'm here for that 100%. So anyway,
People who have said this in articles, interviews, whatever the case may be, about why they chose to cheat in their relationship. So the first half of this is going to kind of lean into reasons why people cheat. It's not an excuse, but the reasons that people feel like they were backed into that corner. And then it transitions into why relationships can fail outside of the cheating aspect.
Okay.
So the first one is, I feel like a ghost in my own home. I'd sit at the dinner table and feel more alone than if I were physically by myself. I didn't cheat because I stopped loving her. I cheated because I stopped feeling like I existed to her. The other woman saw me, and that's all it took.
That's actually very true.
Yeah.
That feeling like a shell of a person, or that feeling alone in a group, like a room full of people that are supposed to love you like that, that's like true depression. And there's a lot of ugly that comes from that. I agree with that. With my infidelity, that's pretty much what started it.
Yeah.
But
That the other woman saw me. There's a difference between acknowledging my existence and actually seeing me and what I'm going through, what I'm suffering with, what I'm celebrating.
yeah,
I'd sit at the dinner table and feel more alone than if I were physically by myself. That screams roommate phase to me.
yeah.
Lack of intimacy. We're not having conversations beyond how was your day? What do you want for dinner? Good night.
Do you think there's a difference between the roommate phase and a lack of intimacy? Do we need to create a new phase? I think we need to create a new phase.
Between lack of intimacy and the roommate phase?
Yeah,
Okay.
because there's it's one thing to not have sex.
Right.
It's another to not have intimacy,
yes.
right? Like you can
I have to agree with that. I do. There's definitely a difference between a lack of intimacy and a lack of sex. You know, as they're discussing, you know, you can go through your daily routine because you know you're obligated to do so, or maybe you have a routine actually set up. There's no excuse for a lack of intimacy, though. I don't think. I think you have to actively continually put yourself in a position of not wanting to speak to your partner or partners, whatever your circumstances are, in order to achieve that level of degradation in your relationship.
there are people in relationships who do the deed because it's required. There's no engagement or
Emotional
excitement
tie,
or
yeah.
emotions or intimacy. It's just, it's Wednesday night. We're scheduled to have sex at 7 p.m. Let me go pop this Cialis and go do my thing, or Viagra, or whatever it is that you need for your, to do the thing that you hate with the person that you hate. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there needs to be another phase invented.
We should put some thought into that.
We should.
I concur, doctor.
I would rather live in a roommate phase than a lack of intimacy phase, because I can have my needs fulfilled in a whole lot of other ways other than sex. Don't get me wrong, sex is super fucking important. It's very important. That we know that there are couples out there who end their relationships because sex matters that much to them. But the intimacy to me matters so much more. And if we had sex and it was just grudge fucking and there was nothing behind it other than a nut, like that's fine for a quickie on a Tuesday afternoon before going to the movies.
Right.
But that's not if that was a habitual thing or a repetitive act.
I'd be disgusted by it eventually.
Right. I think you both would.
Yeah.
I think you both would.
Number 2, I wanted to feel powerful again. I was tired of being told what to do, how to act, how to talk. At home, I felt small. The affair made me feel like I had agency again, like I had control over something.
I would see this becoming an issue more for men than women.
Because they need to feel like they crave that. I want to be the leader, the provider.
I do. I
Well,
believe that.
okay.
I think that, look, let's be real. Nobody wants.
Men, and I say this all the time, men are built and designed to fight dragons. This is what we do. And especially for those of us who were raised in Western culture, and especially I even argue those of us who grew up in the 90s era, late 80s, early 90s, we grew up in a very Disney World orientated style of relationship where most of our parents, in my experience, it's been very 50-50. I've had a large amount of friends whose parents were very stereotypical in that dad worked, paid the bills, mom was a stay-at-home mom, cooked, cleaned, and did all that. But then the other half, which is closer to my experiences, where yes, dad was out working and paying the bills, mom was actually the one running the show. Dad was just there to bring in money, more or less. Mom, there was no power dynamic between mom and dad in that regard. It was very orientated towards mom actually ran the show, and dad just kind of shut the fuck up and did as he was told. That in combination with the Disneyland, Disney World ideology of lacking in masculinity, and all I have to do is love her enough. All I have to do is love her enough. If she just if I just loved her enough, then it would work out. Between those very feministic ideals, you get to where that becomes a problem in your real life relationships, where you have no real clue what masculinity and dominance looks like effectively in relationships. You have no idea what it practices in relationships. And you end up in a very feminized relationship pattern over and over and over throughout your life, where you get with these women who are incredibly masculine, who are incredibly dominant, who really run the show for you. And then you end up in a pickle where, you feel like you have no agency. Men are built and designed to fight dragons. That's what we do. We take the hardest thing in a woman's life and we make it our burden to fix it and to correct it. I think men are inherently built this way. I think men have a conqueror's mentality deep down in their roots, just through ages and ages of programming, in that the world was shaped by men, not women. I know this is a very unpopular opinion, but your ancestors were men by vast majority, and with sword and spear and shield, boundaries were crossed. Fortresses were built, keeps were built and maintained. Sandals and bare feet and boots marched across snow and sand and dirt. The world was built and shaped by men, and those men wore armor. They carried weapons. They survived off of the sweat of their brow. They survived off of sheer instinct and what was known to them at the time. We didn't have there were no comforts then beyond a warm hearth, a warm home, and, not to sound poetic, but the love of a woman and family. Men did what they did, and women did what they did. And as a firm believer in gender roles, it is incredibly important that those things are discussed and encouraged and brought into the light. Because when men don't fight dragons, you end up with very feminized men, I would argue. When you have a lack of goals and values in life, when you have nothing that you stand up for in an ideology, you just kind of go wherever the wind takes you. You become one of these leftist, liberal, butthurt guys who just kind of goes with the mainstream media. Yes, it's okay to get butthurt because somebody said the N-word. Yes, I'm going to get upset and butthurt because a woman was spoken to some type of way. And you really have no value or opinion of your own, rather than what everyone else has to say or think. So it's very important that I think those ideals are kind of brought up and discussed.
To be told what to do. That's why we say that love makes requests, not demands.
Right.
We don't ever tell each other what to do. It's always a request. And sometimes that request is, hey, can you just real quick, or I'm going to do this, can you do that? And it might sound like I'm telling you what to do, but there is always a question mark. Like, there's no demands there. I don't want to be told that I have to go do a fucking anything. But that, I felt small. The affair made me feel like I had agency, like I had control over something. You get those men who work 60 hours a week and come home and don't know their children. They don't know their wife. When they walk in the door, there's a honey-do list and nagging and complaining, and there's constant tension in the home, and they don't feel connected in any way, shape, or form. Having somebody come through that smiles at them, that lets them be themselves and allows them to like plan a date, or, hey, I got you something today, and it's, oh, thank you, instead of, I don't like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
not what I asked for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I can see how that type of emotional infidelity would lead to actual physical cheating.
I think that I wanted to have control over something again. For women, looks like emotional cheating versus physical cheating.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I still think it would lead to physical cheating, though.
I agree. At some point, everything takes a next step.
What do you think is worse? Physical
Emotional
cheating
or
or
physical?
emotional cheating?
Emotional cheating.
You know that most men disagree with that. Most men feel like physical cheating is worse. And the reason I say that is
Yeah.
because
Okay. Pay attention to this. I'm here for this.
it's worse. Physical
Emotional
cheating
or
or
physical?
emotional cheating?
Emotional cheating.
You know that most men disagree with that. Most men feel like physical cheating is worse. And the reason I say that is
Yeah.
because in the event of infidelity, you will say, "Did you love her?" and I will say, "Did you fuck them?"
Yeah.
And that's actually a thing. And you know, it's crazy that that's the difference in our brains.
Yeah. I can't remember what I read. For men, that's one of the most emotional connecting moments to have with their woman is during sex.
It is.
And for women, it's when we're able to have conversations about our emotions and feel understood and all of those kinds of things.
I'm going to change the thought pattern on that.
What do you mean?
It's kind of the same thing. For women, you said that it's the conversations and all of the things that go on in the day to day, the emotional intimacy and the feeling desired and wanted and loved and taken care of and protected. That's the thing that does it for you guys. And for us, you said it was the sexual aspect. Well, you're mine,
Right.
right? So the giving you of all of those things is what shows you that you're mine, and then the sexual aspect solidifies it for the emotional.
Exchange.
Right. So when you do sleep with somebody else, I am no longer feeling like I'm doing all of those things in the process, and then you giving yourself to another person is where that comes from. I believe that.
I agree with that.
I believe it. I believe.
Number 3, I thought I could get away with it. Honestly, I didn't think I'd get caught. I never planned to leave my wife. I just compartmentalized. Looking back, I was playing with fire just to feel alive.
I think that ties into number 1.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that most people do infidelity think they're going to get caught. Everybody thinks they're slick. Everyone thinks they're
I'm the
slick.
smartest person in the room.
Right. And there's even a phrase that the heart doesn't feel what the eyes don't see. You ever heard that? It's the same thing. It's in that same realm of asking for forgiveness is easier than asking
Yeah.
for permission. But I think that that's the same thing. Nobody ever thinks about them getting caught. I also don't think that in the moment of passion where you feel invigorated and you feel desired and wanted and all of those things that you haven't felt in your relationship is firing off in your body, the last thing you're thinking about is the fact that you've got another person.
Yeah. I don't really have anything on that one. That
Okay.
kind of speaks for itself.
I shall scroll.
Number 4, she made me feel like a man again. My wife and I hadn't been intimate in almost a year. I felt invisible, just like the dad or a roommate. When someone else flirted with me, I was starved for it and I ate it up.
So, yep, we've talked about that a lot. You've used the desert analogy quite a bit with that.
Yes. Reading that, I felt invisible, like just the dad or a roommate. That would crush me. If I was no longer viewed as your wife and I was just viewed as the mother to your children, that emotional separation would be a very devastating blow.
Why do you think that happens?
In relationships,
Yep.
the children are prioritized over the marriage.
What else?
A lack of concern for the needs of the spouse.
I think a lot of it falls into routine,
Yeah.
right? You wake up and do the same thing every day, and you take things for granted, right? Like if you have a man or a woman in the house that makes really good money and you guys don't have to look at your bank before filling your gas tank up, or you can just go grocery shopping and spend whatever you need to spend and it's not a big deal, that becomes your normal. And for people that don't have that, they look at it and go, holy shit, you can do that? Like
Yeah.
they would not take that for granted at first. But over time, that would become their life and it would become normal for them. So for people who have the routine of get up, go to the gym, go to work, come home, eat dinner, go to bed, or play video games, drink a beer, go to bed, whatever. And there's not date nights and there's not, all of us sitting at the table as a family and having conversations about things that's not work or chore related. That routine is a destruction. Like it kills things because you're no longer living with intent. You're just going through the motions because this is what your life is now. And I think that that's one of those things that can be really fucking avoided, but it takes a consistent effort and situational awareness or self-awareness as to what's going on. If you feel I felt invisible and just like the dad or a roommate, I'm willing to put money on it that your partner does too,
Yeah.
because you can't have one side without the other. Now, the other person could be disgusted by you. You could be, you might have halitosis now and they don't want to kiss you. You could be 300 pounds heavier than you were when you dated. You could have a lack of sex drive. You could have psoriasis. You could have a whole lot of things going on that your partner just deems unacceptable. And that's not saying that any of these things make you unattractive. It could just make you unattractive to them. And that could be a shitty situation where your person's just not attracted to you anymore. And that's, that could create a wedge. But I'm willing to bet the other is it's the routine. I believe that too. It's why it's important to be like, hey, I need a date night.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm feeling a little bit detached before it becomes, hey, I feel really detached. Yep. Real quick. I heard you take a deep breath. Just real quick.
Okay.
For you guys who are not in our Patreon, you're missing a really good chat right now. I keep looking over and there's great comments being stated. What you are not changing, you're choosing. I fully believe that. Somebody else said, only sorry when they get caught. Right? Like there's actual chats happening in here that our fans or followers are actually going through and discussing. So if you guys would like to be a part of the chat, you need to be a part of the Discord. You get into our Patreon community, get into Discord, you can watch all this shit live while we're recording, and we interact with you guys. We have a lot of private live streams. We're going to start watching movies with you guys in here, which is going to be fun. We're going to be doing live calls soon.
Hold on, guys.
We're waiting on
I
those
apologize.
forms to come through.
Personal call.
But Patreon is a thing. Patreon.com/to-be-better. Go check it out.
Number 5, I was lonely but too proud to admit it. My husband worked late. I worked from home. We barely talked. I never said I was lonely because I didn't want to sound needy, so I started messaging someone online and it got out of hand.
I think that so far this is the worst, the most egregious of the things that we've read.
Elaborate.
My husband worked late. I
Yeah.
worked from home and we barely talked. My husband works all the time. I'm home all the time and I miss him and I'm lonely. And instead of telling him that and reconnecting, you made a choice to find an easier ploy. And this comes down to, I don't want to sound needy and I don't want to sound like I'm nagging, because the go-to is, well, you work so much, and not, I miss you. It's a very different conversation. I think that that's the worst sin out of all of these so far, because somebody is out there trying to kill themselves to make sure that you can, from a man's perspective, our job is to go out there and make money and try to kill ourselves to provide a life for our family.
Yep.
And while we're doing that, this is happening.
Yeah.
And I would view it the same way for military personnel.
Oh, I agree. 100%. Yeah, I agree with what you just said. Thank you for elaborating.
You're welcome.
Number 6, I wanted to hurt her the way she hurt me. She cheated first. I forgave her, or I thought I did. But but I had all this resentment building up. When the opportunity came, I took it. It wasn't love, it was revenge. I think that if you are the person who was cheated on in a relationship and you cannot move past it and you're building up resentment and you feel like you need to get revenge, you need to end the relationship.
Do you think that the eye for an eye thing is ever acceptable in a situation like this?
In a situation like this with cheating?
Yeah.
No.
No, not in a situation like that.
Because I'm you're reading these things and I try to put myself in other people's shoes. And in this situation, like there would be like an eye for an eye thing. Like you did it, I did it, we're even now. You know that it hurts because he did it because he wanted her to hurt. So in that situation, like you now know what it feels like to be on the opposite end of this. We need to cut the shit out and fix our marriage. That was where my brain went right away, because it's like that song, hurt people. You know what I mean? The I love you. What is it? I'm sorry. I forgive you. I love you. Thank you. That
I kind of want to elaborate on that for a minute, because that's really an important point. Eye for an eye is never an appropriate response to cheating or to infidelity. I cheated on Angel one time, the mother of my child. Okay, I cheated on her once, and I have absolutely no excuse for the situation. I can only give you my perspective on it. Okay, so her and I had been together for I want to say 3 years. Her and I had been together for almost 3 years, or about, it was about that time, the 2-3 year mark. And me being the good old boy that I was at the time, I was very much the type to just, hey, pack your shit and move in. Okay. I had, at the time, I was working at a trailer park as maintenance. So I had free rent utilities. The only thing I had to pay for at the time were my probation fees. Other than my probation fees, I had a free clear, basically $1,500 a month check brought home. Extracurricularly, I paid for, of course, internet for the trailer that I was at the time. But other than that, I had a full-time job. I was groundskeeping. I was doing construction. I was doing remodeling for the park models at the trailer park had owned, like little HEMA units and stuff like that. I was working my ass off. And so when Angel had moved in, we had been together for, about 2-3 years. Okay. And also on top of that, I was also going to school. Believe it or not, Ironbeard was a minister at one point in his younger years. I was going to seminary to get my doctorates in Christian counseling and my bachelor's in theology, because that was what was of interest to me. I wrote a dissertation paper on angelology and demonology. Psychology always fascinated me. Anthropology always fascinated me. What made people's minds tick was always of interest and fascination to me. And so I was going to school for all of that. So not only was I working full-time, but I was also taking college courses through seminary. So I was a very busy guy. I would like to be bitter and say that she was dumb. And bear with me for a moment. I'm not trying to talk shit. She was dumb at that time. And what I mean by that was, both of us were young. Both of us were dumb. But I think she really did take for granted the amount of shit that I did for her, because what would end up happening was I would more or less hand over my bank card to her and tell her, hey, you'll get whatever you wanted. There was a night where we were driving home from, and I don't remember, it might have been the store. We were driving home from the store, and she popped off and said, and it's terrible that I remember it. I can remember the look on her face, this stupid fucking, just dumb and like disgusted look, this look of just idiocity. She looked over at me as she was driving, and she goes, I don't trust you. Just like that, just completely, and I was so fucking appalled and taken aback. So I said, pull over. She pulled over. I got out of the car, and I walked over to my friend's house at the time, and I hate fucked the ever living shit out of her. Yep, I had zero remorse. Um, I guess to to kind of better put that into context. So while her and I had been together for about 2, 3 years during that time, I'd gotten in touch with a lot of old school friends from elementary school, from middle school, and one girl in particular. Her name was Brenda, and Brenda and I had been in a relationship like freshman year of high school, and her and I were just head over heels for one another, and she was great. Everything was great. I mean, she had her issues. I had my issues. Whatever. But we were very much in love, and her and I ended up parting ways because she ended up, I think, moving back to Kansas or something. So her and I had ended up losing contact over the years. Well, when her and I had gotten back in contact with one another through, I believe it was Facebook. And this was back in the newly years of Facebook when it just came out. People were transitioning from MySpace and the top, 5 or 10, whatever it was, friends and shit, over to the Facebook program and app. Um, I had a line drawn with her in that, like, while I was with Angel, there was no, I don't want to say there was no attraction towards Brenda, but I, in my mind, had drawn a line in that my honor would not be impugned upon. I still loved her. I still maybe had some feelings for her. There was an amount of attraction to her, but I said, "Look, we could be friends. We can be, I had found out during that time that she had had a daughter, Kiara, and Kiara at that time was, oh fuck, I don't remember, 2 years old, 3 years old, something like that. She was still just a baby. Um, and so she was, of course, a single mom and back in my area of circumference, out on the Delta Loop where I was at the time in California. And so she was within a 15-mile distance of me at any given point in time because of where she lived with her grandparents. So while she was within vicinity of me, uh, I had drawn that line in the sand for myself in that we could text, we could talk, everything's fine. Like, you have your life, I have mine. But like it or not, I'm with Angel, and that's just not a line I'm going to cross. And that had been my mentality up until that point. Her and I were talking regularly just about, how my relationship was going, how things were going with that cunt of her baby daddy at the time. So we were talking fairly regularly. Uh, and I think a big part of that problem was that her and I were having conversations that Angel and I weren't having, as far as the intimacy of how things were going. It was just a complete breakdown of communication. I was communicating to the wrong person, and I think she was not to put too much blame on her. She was eating it up. She, of course, like all women, enjoyed that attention, enjoyed the affection, enjoyed things kind of sort of feeling like maybe they used to back when we were in school together. And it was just a cauldron waiting to boil over. Um, and so I knew that I had her in my back pocket. I knew if I had offered or asked that she would have given me some yum yum if that was something that I wanted to pursue. And that's not why I kept her around. I just knew that that was an option that was available to me. And so when Angel had popped off that night, and I forget the context of the conversation, but she looked over at me when she said, "I don't trust you," I was not only appalled, but also incredibly hurt. Because up until that point, I had put every woman I came in touch with in their place. I'm married, I'm taken, I'm unavailable, whatever. I love her. I was working full time, I was paying the bills. I did absolutely everything that a man should be doing for his family. And up until that point, and again, I have always had an open phone policy with all the women I've ever interacted with romantically in my life. I've not deleted things. I've never hidden things. Never, ever have I worked that way. And mostly because probably I'm autistic and I just can't be bothered to delete shit and hide shit. It's beyond my interest. But you were able to go through my phone at any point in time and see whatever conversations you wanted to see. And there was nothing to see beyond, maybe some inappropriately intimate conversations between an old friend of mine, but nothing sexual of nature. Certainly nothing that would be considered infidelity. And I was so appalled and so hurt that she would say something so fucking dumb to me that my mentality was, oh, well, if you can't trust me, then I'm going to give you a fucking reason to not trust me. Fix you. And looking back now, eye for an eye is never worth it, because one transgression ends up being worse than the other. And while I need to be accountable for my actions, and while there is certainly no excuse for her to say something so hurtful, a conversation that could have been had between her and I at that time could have been, hey, you really fucking hurt my feelings, or you really upset me. That was out of pocket and uncalled for. Instead, I cheated and broke her trust and feelings. Now, was it deserved? Was it warranted? That's not for me to judge or say. I felt like it was justified, certainly, and I say that mostly out of selfish ego, because I was hurt. My pride was through the roof. How fucking dare you tell me that I can't be trusted when you have access to my phone, you have access to my debit card, you go get your nails done, your hair done, your tires done in your car, whatever. You have everything you want for absolutely nothing under my roof. You don't work, you barely clean, you barely cook, and you have the can of nerve to tell me you don't trust me? Well, get fucked. I'll give you a reason not to. I felt like it was justified. And it certainly wasn't. It certainly wasn't, because what happened, everything that's happened afterwards was just a snowball effect of my own actions and thought processes back then as a young man. So no, especially in a situation of infidelity, or even just general mishaps and lacking communication, perhaps, eye for an eye is certainly never, ever, ever, ever the go-to. If you feel like there's some kind of transgression made, and if you really can't talk about it, or maybe even resolve it for that matter, then you absolutely just need to leave the relationship. Period. End of story. There is no amount of cheating. There is no amount of infidelity. There is no amount of shady or shisty behavior. There should be no amount of anything. If you just cannot walk past that fact that you feel, hurt or wounded or jaded or whatever, and there's no walking backwards from that or even moving past that, then yes, you should just leave the relationship.
It's one of those things that, like, they say in that song that when I was hurt the most, I wanted others to feel how I felt. That I think that's a thing for a lot of people. I don't think that it's right by any means. I do think that in a situation where both people have done that to each other, at least there's a common ground for healing, because there is an understanding of what both people went through. Mm-hmm. But I also think that's surface level, because when you really think as to why the cheating happened from the first person, it could be very different. You know what I mean? Like it could be the work thing. It could be that I was not, you're not in love with the person anymore. It could be a whole lot of things. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's just the type of person,
Right. Next one is, it was a trauma response, not love. I've been sexually abused in my past, and I never really felt safe in intimacy. When my partner got too close, I panicked. Cheating helped me feel in control of something, even if it destroyed us.
I think that I take back what I said about 5 being the worst. This would be the worst.
Yeah.
Because you knew that you were abused in your past, and you've done nothing in terms of your mental health to take care of this, and you just destroyed another person because of it.
Yeah. You chose to entertain somebody.
Yeah.
And when it got too far for you, you hurt them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry for interrupting over and over and over again. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know that you have some kind of quirk, some kind of check mark, some kind of smudge that's going to hinder you from a normal, healthy relationship, you should not get into a relationship. Maybe you have some trust issues from a past relationship because of infidelity. Excuse me. Maybe you were, raped or molested as a kid and you have some kind of issues there. Deep down in our heart of hearts, we know if there are certain things within us that are going to hinder us. We all know that there's a thing that we guard with a dragon. There's a thing that we covet in our heart of hearts. And it might be many, it might be a few. But if you know you have some kind of issue that is going to hinder you, there's a pattern, even perhaps in most cases, I would argue, throughout your relationships that have happened over and over and over again. Maybe you can't just shut the fuck up. Maybe you can't just take a piece of advice. Maybe maybe you're prone to getting physically violent. Maybe there's some anger issues somewhere that are unresolved. You have a habit of just throwing shit or punching holes in walls or I don't know, anything, any number of things. But in our heart of hearts, we know what our own problems are. We really do. I don't think that we walk around with such an oblivious mind that, we don't know our own toxicity and what may or may not really kill the relationship that we're in and or pursuing. If you know you've got some problems, you really need to correct those before you get into that relationship. Whether it's counseling, whether it's a group of friends, and what I would call homebrew therapy, whatever it is that you need to do, work out and lose some weight so maybe you feel better about yourself. Whatever it is, you need to correct those things before you get into a new relationship. What's the saying? So if you don't pull the knife out of your back, you're gonna bleed on people who never hurt you, something like that. You need to really work on your own issues. And while I would argue there are some things that you are able to work on with another partner, sure, there are definitely lines drawn in the sand that, look, this is something about me that not only you can't help with, but that you would deter me from. If I were to be with you in any kind of sexual or romantic way, you would completely hinder this healing and shadow work that I'm doing right now to correct this problem. So in 6 months and 6 years, whatever, I can then at that point be good and better for you.
I think conversations when you've been abused like that in the past need to be had.
Oh, 100%.
Before you move in, like those conversations need to be had, especially if that abuse leads to promiscuity, or if it leads to I don't want to say unhealthy sexual behavior because I don't mean it that way. I just don't have a better word for it right now. Risque sexual behavior. Some people that have been abused have weird kinks. Weird is probably not the word. I don't think it's weird. I understand. Intense. We'll go with intense kinks. We can go with that. That's way better than weird. And I agree with that. That was a much better verbiage. I like that. It makes me feel less bad saying intense versus weird, because that was actually making me uncomfortable.
Right.
But I think that those are conversations that need to be had before moving in. right? If you have those intense kinks and you need that fulfillment from your partner because you have unhealed trauma, at least they know where they're at and they know about the trauma and they can try to guide or help you through whatever you need to go through.
It wasn't planned, but I didn't stop it either. We were drunk, we flirted, one thing led to another. I wish I could say I didn't know what I was doing, but I did. I just didn't want to deal with my problems at home.
You can remove drunk from that.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that in the moment where that fire is ignited and it's been so gone for so long, I can see that being a thing. And I was right in what I said. They weren't thinking about the other person. They were thinking about them.
Right. Their needs not being met.
Yep.
Next one is I had convinced myself I deserved it. I had been the good guy for years, provided, stayed faithful, took care of everything. I started resenting how little appreciation I got.
Go you. Just, you guys can't see what's happening, but I scrolled too far and the appreciation I got wasn't seen. And then it scrolled all the way off the top of the screen and she was able to catch it and keep reading.
Yeah.
Jesus. Sweet suffering Jesus.
That turned to entitlement, so I cheated and told myself I earned it. That's fucked up.
That is
I
fucked
want to
up.
reread that just because I
Okay.
interrupted you. I had been the good guy for years, provided, stayed faithful, and took care of everything. I started resenting how little appreciation I got. That turned into entitlement, so I cheated and told myself I earned it. That's the importance of gratitude. This is like you said earlier. There's a difference between like seeing somebody and not seeing somebody. Like truly being seen by your partner matters.
Yeah.
You know, you guys just being roommates and knowing each other and going through the motions versus truly seeing your person. Like we went through a whole thing that first ceremony. Like I'm not gonna cry, but that was the thing.
Yeah.
It's different. It's so fucking different to truly be seen by your person. But that gratitude goes a long way. If your person does the things that they're doing day to day and you take it for granted and you don't tell them, I appreciate you going to work. I appreciate you taking care of the kids. I appreciate you taking out the trash. I appreciate that I haven't had to wash my underwear in the last 6 years because you've done it for me. Like that gratitude goes a long fucking way in letting your person know that they're valued. It doesn't. Now, again, this whole thing, like how little appreciation they got turned into entitlement. I think it turns into resentment more than entitlement. And you're doing this out of fuck you to them because they're tired of being seen or not being seen. But we've really talked a lot about the importance of gratitude. Like that's been a really big discussion on this podcast. And it's not just been year one. Like it's been a consistent theme.
Yes. I need to readjust.
Okay. Bandit Gaming said, not being seen by your person is harder than most people think. It really fucking is. It really, really is.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
I am. How many of these are on here? Is that the end?
We
Oh,
can
there's- okay.
we can do number 10 and move on to the next.
Well, we can do all of them. I just wasn't sure because
Okay.
I feel like we're moving very quick.
Oh
But I
no,
didn't
there's
ri-
20 pages here.
Okay, dope.
Yeah.
I didn't know because I haven't
Yeah.
even looked at this yet. So
Yeah.
See?
Next one is I never learned how to sit with discomfort. Every time there was tension in our marriage, I shut down. So when someone else gave me attention, it felt easier. No work, no history, just ease. I wasn't running to them. I was running from conflict.
that's a trauma response.
Yeah.
I believe that whole thing is a trauma response. This is why you need to do the work in between relationships as well.
Yes.
Oh,
I agree.
I don't have anything on that one. I just think that's fucked up.
I agree that that's a trauma response. That is, I never learned how to sit down with discomfort. Nobody likes feeling uncomfortable. And filling yourself with distractions to get away from that discomfort is going to ruin your life.
I
That's
love
why
her
people
mic,
become drug
by the way.
addicts.
I love how that looks all
Escapism.
elf,
Yeah.
elfy,
Alcoholics,
elven.
workaholics, living paycheck to paycheck, maybe spending too much money on things they don't need because that's filling their cup and they don't have to worry about their problems. That's how people become hoarders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got through a whole lot of my problems by doing psychedelics. And like I know that we talk about that on this podcast quite a bit, but like if you live somewhere where you can do psychedelic assisted therapy and number 10 is you, that you don't know how to sit with discomfort, having a guided therapy session while you're in the medicine, like it's life-changing.
Yes.
And it doesn't take much. You can do a single session and get life-changing things from it. There are people that need to do multiple. You know, we've done multiple ceremonies. but it's, you know, there are places in Oregon, Colorado, I believe California has now legalized mushrooms as well.
Love that.
And depending on where you live, if you live in Australia, you know, it's psychedelics. Psilocybin is legal in Australia too.
Oh,
Germany
shit.
just passed it. Like there's a lot of countries that are moving into plant medicine because it's so fucking effective.
What the hell is America doing?
Interesting.
Well, they're working on it. I think that, so I follow a lot of, I'm not a big cannabis person. I'm really not. I understand the need for it mainly because we live together and like we both have our medical cards, but you actually partake and I don't. I see the difference in you when you're smoking, when you're not, or when you're having a bad day, how it resets you. There's definitely a place for cannabis and plant medicines. I understand tobacco is a plant medicine. I don't view it that way because it's abused so poorly or so badly here in the United States, well, all over the world for that matter. But I follow all of that shit. And I believe that cannabis will be rescheduled to a class 3 before Trump leaves office. I would not be shocked if we don't see a major change by the end of this year with cannabis. And the new CIA director and somebody else that's in Trump's administration, it might be RFK, are very big on psychedelic therapies.
That's good.
So they've opened up a whole lot of new doors for places, big places, to be able to test it. And I would not be surprised if we didn't see a rescheduling of at least psilocybin before the end of Trump's administration as well. Because if it could be prescribed and be done in a holistic setting where there are actual people guiding and healing and therapy and integration afterwards,
That'd be amazing.
I don't think that it would be abused as a drug. There will be people that always abuse drugs,
Right.
but I think it's less likely to abuse psychedelics because it's not an addictive substance. But for people who have major trauma, I don't know why I went on this tangent. I think it was because of the discomfort thing.
Yeah.
I think that matters. So
Sobriety is
if you guys
important.
live somewhere where you have access to psychedelic therapy and you live,
Sobriety is important, and understanding that you may or may not have a let's call it a problem that you're using alcohol or weed or psychedelics or any other amount of things as a crutch is important. I think more than a few of us come from a background of parents who might have been alcoholic, who might have been coke users, meth users, chronic pot users even, and it's hard to, as an addict or as someone who was at one point an addict in some way, shape, or form, it can be hard to separate yourself from what's easily able to get access around you.
with the discomfort situation, it might be something to look into with your healthcare providers.
Next one is, I thought if I sabotaged it, I wouldn't have to end it.
Oh, I want them to break up with me, so
Yeah.
I'm not the bad guy.
Yeah.
Joke's on you. You're the
cheated.
bad guy for cheating, or bad woman for cheating.
Yeah. I didn't know how to break up with my girlfriend. I was too afraid to hurt her or admit I wanted out, so I cheated, hoping that she'd find out. She did. It was awful. I hate how cowardly that was.
Yeah.
Definitely a big learning lesson. Gosh, I would be hurt a whole lot less if I was just broken up with versus being cheated on, finding out about it.
That's one of those things that if you really want out that bad, just leave.
Yeah, if somebody told me that, my first thought would be, you pussy.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of people out there, though, that are not willing to leave because they don't want to destroy their life. And they're doing all of these other things for all of their other reasons
Yeah.
because leaving becomes too much of a burden. Whether your life is too enmeshed, businesses, kids, people have, everybody that watches these TikToks are going to be like, there's never an excuse, blah, blah, blah. The reality is 70% of relationships have infidelity in them.
Yes.
50% have physical infidelity. The other 20% is emotional. So 70% of relationships have some form of infidelity happening in them, which means at least everyone on the planet at least knows somebody who's cheated,
Yeah.
right? Like it's just not possible.
And I
7
would
out
even
of 10.
I would even argue at that point, and especially as men, because I think I need to elaborate on this a little bit. Men and women cheat for different reasons. It's not ever justified. But men cheat physically, whereas women cheat emotionally. Men, I would argue, are polygamous by nature in that if you offered 99% of men, 98 maybe, if you offered 98% of men, you're happy and content in your marriage, everything's going well. If your smoking hot wife who cooks, cleans, sucks your dick, does everything right, okay? If your wife confronted you and said, "Hey, I've got this friend. She's pretty attractive, and she wants to sleep with you, and I'm kind of inclined to allow her to. How would you feel about having a threesome with me and my girlfriend?" I would argue that 98, 99% of men would say yes. Now, most men aren't going to admit this out loud because they are in a what I would call a lacking in abundance mindset. And your mindset of abundance is vastly different as a man than your mentality as a lacking in abundance. Most men are in a lacking of abundance mindset. And what I mean by that is most men think that they can't do better than what they have. The reality is that we're all replaceable. However, as a man, and this is, perhaps more of my red pill mentality kicking in, if you're working out, if you're making money, if you're at least even attempting to make money, if you're working regularly, if you're doing everything right and everything that you're supposed to be doing, and on top of that, if you're following your purpose and your path in life, uh, then you need to come away with a point of view that is you are the prize. Okay, you are doing everything right. You are on your purpose and your path in life. Everything is going well. Nothing should hinder you from that purpose. Not your children, not your women, not your family, not your friends. Certainly not your friends. Uh, as a matter of fact, your circle should be encouraging you to do whatever it is that you feel is your calling to do as a man. And I would argue if your circle of friends is not supportive and encouraging in what you're trying to do, then you should probably find a new circle of friends. But this lacking in abundance mindset leads men into this trap that is, if I am not, if I could only get as good as what I can get now, then I have to hold on to what I have. Now, you can call it ego, you can call it narcissism, you can call it whatever you want to, but I know that I am irreplaceable. What I offer in wisdom, what I offer in charisma, what I offer in sheer character within a relationship is completely irreplaceable. And what I've learned over the years of going from, let's say, a man whore, a scumbag, to what I am presently, and taking the mask off in my autism and being able to demask, unmask, and speak without fear of judgment, those things are utterly irreplaceable. And so, because most men are afraid to say these things and even act upon them, and I'm not encouraging cheating, but because most men are afraid to be open or to even have that conversation, what happens is you have a society of men who are withheld and dishonest and being perhaps insincere. Okay, women, as we've seen historically throughout history, not just every man was able to have multiple women or wives. Okay, kings, warlords, village leaders, men of purpose and men of power have always been able to attain an amount of multiple women. And for us, for men, I would even argue again, we lean towards polygamy because we view sex differently than women. The average man can go out to a bar, hook up with another woman or two, come home, and still be in love with his wife because there is no emotional connection in that sex, in as far as a relationship is concerned. However, for women, And, you can call it compartmentalizing perhaps, but men are able to compartmentalize sex from I'm feeling some type of way. Most men do not cheat and or sleep with multiple women because of some kind of emotional derailing. They do it out of ego. They do it out of sheer lust or want, even. Whereas women, on the other hand, women, and I need you guys to understand this because I know this, it's been practiced, and you see it throughout history. Women are incredibly emotionally, well, up until very recently, but your modern woman is pretty emotionally unintelligent, but I digress. Women historically have been emotionally intelligent by far and vast comparison to men. And women cheat due to an emotional state. Okay? Women don't cheat because they want some dick, because they want some extra, a different flavor, let's call it. Women cheat because they aren't getting some kind of emotional need met. And I would argue, and they're both terrible, but it is far more egregious, in my opinion, when women cheat versus when men cheat, due to the way we each cheat. Now, I'm not saying there aren't men out there who don't cheat out of emotion, and I'm not saying there's certainly not such emotionally damaged women out there that they are able to compartmentalize sex from emotion. Okay, because that obviously does exist. But I'm saying on a scale of averages, men won't go out of their way to go get extra yum yum because they're feeling some type of way. They'll get it because it's easy access. They'll get it because maybe they're just bored and they want something different in the bedroom. There is no emotional attachment to that girl at the bar. But for a woman to cheat, it takes an incredible amount of emotional investment. She has to feel ignored. She has to feel belittled. She has to feel some kind of incredibly deep emotional thing to leave the sanctity of her relationship, because women default to monogamy in a relationship. The highest honor, and I do believe women know this inherently in their heart of hearts, the highest honor a woman can give a man is children. And obviously we have things like birth control and condoms nowadays. But when a woman cheats, she cheats out of emotion because she feels some type of way, whereas men cheat simply out of physicality, out of some kind of physical, I don't want to call it a need, but out of a physical just direction, let's call it. So while they both might be egregious in their own way, men don't show dishonor in cheating in such a way that women show dishonor by cheating due to the nature of why the other one does what they do. And and this is just my opinion, when women cheat, it is nothing less than a I have no respect for you slap. When a woman slaps you with I don't respect you as a man, there is no walking that back. There's no, oh, well, now I respect you. There is never, in my opinion, a situation where you can have a healthy relationship after a woman cheats on you. Because at no point past that point of her cheating are you going to regain her respect. She will view you differently. She will look at you differently. You will be treated differently. There will always be an allowance in the back of her mind that if I can do it once, I can do it again. And when men allow that, you automatically put yourself in the category of lacking an abundance mindset. You automatically say, you know what? You're right. I can't do better. So if you misbehave, I'll just keep you around because I can't replace you and or do better. That's what we call a cuck. You don't want to be that guy. Now, does it work in the opposite direction? Slightly. The difference is that, again, as a man, if you're on your purpose, if you're on your path in life, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and hey, different strokes for different folks. Some men default to monogamy, some men default to polygamy. Hell, there are some men who strictly move in an emotionally unavailable bias, and they refuse to date at all. But while most men, I would argue, have been trained into monogamy, and again, there are certainly plenty of men who are happy within monogamy, and power to them. There are some men out there who are happy with one woman, who have never in their life, I mean, I call bullshit, but every man in their relationship has the ability to look at another woman and go, that woman is sexually attractive. We are built and designed to do this because we are men. We have a psychology, I would argue, of polygamy. That is our base default, to spread seed, to multiply, to have children. Women do not have that same mentality that men have. Now, it's a whole different rabbit hole to say whether or not you should pursue that. Obviously, we don't live in a time where we are at war with one another day to day, where you have to worry about, 8 of your 16 children dying in a month because of a flu bug. But regardless, men have a programming that is to spread seed, to multiply, to conquer, and to control. Women do not inherently and naturally possess those traits. So, I digress.
People, it's a lot when you think about it.
Next one, I needed to prove I was still desirable. I was aging, gaining weight. My husband didn't notice me anymore. When someone else did, it was like I came back to life. It wasn't about love or leaving. It was about ego and fear.
It's rough.
So the next part is behaviors that can push your partners away. This is meant to kind of help you guys become more self-aware of what you're doing within your
I'm streaming on Kick.
relationships, or the toxic behaviors that you may have within yourself that you may not recognize is contributing to the downfall of your relationship.
Okay, so we're moving away from cheating and into other.
Right. So this is so what could lead to somebody no longer wanting to be in a relationship or trying to sabotage the relationship to make you leave them, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
So this one starts with women. And the first one is constant criticism or correction. And some examples are, why can't you ever load the dishwasher right? You are correcting how he talks, how he drives, or how he does chores. And often it's what?
Can we play a game with this?
Okay, yeah.
Do you have examples like that all the way down?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to give you the correct way to say it.
Okay.
I don't know what they are.
Right.
So I have to figure it out on the spot.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun for me.
Okay.
On the dishwasher, why can't you ever load the dishwasher right? Instead of that being the statement that's made, because that's never is being used, or ever, whatever. You never. Why can't you ever? It's still a definitive. It's an attack. The proper way to say that is, hey, I really appreciate you doing the dishes and loading the dishwasher. However, our dishwasher sucks ass. And if the cups aren't in the right way, they don't get cleaned properly, and I have to go back and rewash them. So when you do the dishes, instead of loading them cups up, can you put them upside down, or can you organize it the way that this does? Because the dishes get cleaned easier, and then I don't have to go back and do it again. It makes my life way easy. I would really appreciate it. Not an attack.
Right.
I thanked you for what you did.
Yeah.
I explained why it's a problem, and then I showed you the way that I would like it done so that my life is easier because of it. Check mark.
Very good.
Go, Chris.
Next one is withholding affection or intimacy. Refusing to hug, kiss, or be intimate for long periods of time as a punishment. And physical touch becomes transactional. Maybe if you helped around the house, I'd be in the mood.
Oh, that's going to be hard. I feel like our workloads are uneven. I don't feel seen or appreciated for the things that I do in the house. And because of that, it's starting to build resentment, and it's destroying my intimacy.
That's a good way to put that.
I would really appreciate it if you just gave me a little bit of extra help. And in doing so, I would have a little bit more time to relax and decompress. I would feel seen, especially with the gratitude for all the work that I do. And that would bring my intimacy levels back up.
That's good.
Okay.
I want to add one in there.
Okay.
I would have said,
This is fun.
I need help around the house. I am so focused on daily tasks that I feel like I don't have enough brain power to think about intimacy.
There you go. This is fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next one is comparing him to other men.
Ooh.
Jen's husband just booked them a trip. Must be nice. says things like, maybe if you were more like ex, brother, friend, etc.
Not me getting mad. I'm not even in a situation. Like, damn, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's never an acceptable thing. Never fucking compare your relationship to other people's.
Yes.
Especially when you isolate the person that you're with from the marriage. Because in this situation, it's maybe if you were more like so-and-so, not if our marriage was more like so-and-so's, which makes it even fucking worse.
Yeah.
So how about I'm seeing other people taking trips and doing things with their lives and I crave adventure? Can we start maybe planning at least a yearly vacation somewhere? I feel like my cup is drained. I feel like I'm the eternal mother. I feel like I'm nothing more than the guy that goes to work every day and comes home and gives up my paycheck, and you know, I'm miserable and you're miserable and we haven't had like real excitement in a long time. And seeing other people do those things makes me realize how much I miss it. That's how that should be presented.
Yeah.
It's good. Next. Speaking disrespectfully in public or private. Rolling eyes, cutting him off mid-sentence, and mocking his ideas. Oh, God. Talking to him like he is one of the kids. I guess I have to do everything myself again.
I'm actually getting bothered by this.
I know.
I get
know.
it. I get it.
I
That
can
bothers
tell.
me too.
I don't like it when people do that shit in public.
Yeah.
Even if I don't know them, seeing people being disrespectful to each other in public drives me fucking nuts.
There's a
man.
humiliation factor there too.
Absolutely.
Oh.
But I know how much worse it is behind closed doors because if you view that behavior as acceptable in public, I can only imagine how worse it is behind closed doors.
Yeah.
No. Oh man. Okay. This is a topic that gets me heated only because I have experienced it so much throughout my life. Out of my own choosing, mind you, I have picked women with these qualities, so it is my own fault. However, I have absolutely zero patience for women who lip and mouth off. It is nothing makes me want to be physically violent quite like blatant disrespect. And I would completely agree here. If it's bad out in public, it's definitely twice as bad behind closed doors. I'm not going to go into that. I've got a friend whose wife has a problem of just speaking, and she, how do I say this? She's not an incredibly intelligent woman, and hearing her talk about half the things that she's talked about mind you, we don't hang out all the time. It's not like a regular thing, but having to hear this woman talk about half of what she talks about in a public setting is embarrassing for me, for him. Like, I really, it gives off, and it's not so much that she disrespects him openly, but it's that she's allowed to, I don't know, this is going to sound terrible, I don't really care. She is allowed to speak out of turn and on shit that she's got no clue what she's talking about because he doesn't check her or correct her. Or maybe he does and we never see it, I don't know. But I get embarrassed for him when she speaks about certain things because you could just kind of tell, like, there is no gender role presentation within this relationship here that you have. You're both kind of doing that 50-50, we both work, we both cook, we both whatever type shit. But in all reality, it's you as the man doing all the shit, and she just kind of does whatever she does, and it's just, it hurts my heart and embarrasses me for him. And I just have so little tolerance for that. Talking back, having to have the last word, argumentative, just mindset and mentality. The mother of my daughter did this to me on a regular basis for 5 years. For 5 years, I put up with, yeah, but, well, you didn't have to do this. Well, you didn't have to, and constantly being questioned and poked at and disregarded even, nonetheless, openly and publicly, really just, I mean, really puts a big dent in the momentum of the relationship. And it make no mistake, it takes a toll. It leaves its dents, and it takes a lot to get those dents out once they've been rolling.
Fuck me. I guess I have to do everything myself again.
Is it still fun for you?
This one's hard
Okay.
because I don't know what it is that they're complaining about. But I guess this comes back to the last thing that I stated. I feel like I'm carrying too much of the load right now. I understand that you work, and I'm very grateful that you do the things that you do and you pay the bills, and you know, you make our life flow, and I'm grateful. I'm so fucking grateful for it, but I'm so burnt out. I need a break. I need you to just help me pick up a little bit more than what you're doing. I know that it's going to stress you out for a while, but if you give me a couple of months to recharge my batteries, like I'll be good to go again. But right now I'm not there. That would be my,
Communication.
I don't know, but this sounds like this is a fight before it even got to that point.
Yeah. Trying to control or quote unquote fix him. Making decisions for him without asking. Policing how he dressed, speaks, or interacts. Don't ever wear that. It's embarrassing.
Okay, so that's an easy one because this is you're going from attacking his style to you're going to switch it into an opportunity to lift him up or her up for that matter. You know, this could be from either point, but the way that I would handle that is I know that that's super comfortable for you and it looks great around the house, but we're going to go out and I would love to see you in a, you know, my favorite pair of pants on you or wear your snakeskin boots or whatever it is that you want them to change. You give them a compliment with the other thing that you're trying to get them into.
Yes.
It's almost manipulative, but you're getting them to change without hurting their feelings, and you're not shitting on them for the things that's comfortable.
Right.
Like I'm wearing harem pants almost exclusively now, and if you were like, it's so embarrassing seeing you out in the public like that, it would crush me because I'm comfortable and I like the way I look. So for somebody who is comfortable in that outfit, maybe they're wearing fucking polka dots and stripes at the same time. You know what I mean? Or like, what is it? A purple tie with green socks? Something that you weren't supposed to do in the 40s.
I have
don't
no
know.
idea.
But you know, it could be one of those things and it just bothers the other person, but you can give a compliment and get them to change their clothes when you go out and then just let them be themselves otherwise. Let's dress up tonight and be someone we're not for the next 8 hours. Like it doesn't have to be, it's embarrassing because you're shitting on your person at that point.
Yep.
Right.
That judgment changes a person. It makes them not want to be themselves. And when people constantly cave and give to match the other person's wants, you lose all of your identity at that point. That's how the shell of a person happens, which gets you all the way back to a couple of these other ones at the beginning of the list that you were reading. I think it was 1, 3, and 5.
I think so. Yeah.
I would also argue this is also important from a parental standpoint. Now, I'm a girl dad. I can't speak for boy dads. I don't have any boys. But as a girl dad, I have an understanding that my words and my actions are God to my child, to my daughter. My tone of voice, not just what I say, but how I say it, is biblical to my child. So while it might not be necessarily a relationship thing, there's a difference between you need to go change, you're not wearing that, and, you know, risking taking away her identity and what she might feel comfortable in versus, hey, this is inappropriate, or hey, this is something that we wear around the house, not outside the house for other people when we go shopping. You need to change into something a little bit different. You know, girls especially are susceptible to the conditions and the what's what I'm looking for, the judgments of their father. So when you say things like, are you really going to eat another plate of food? Do you really need another plate of food? Are you really going to wear that outside the house? Things like that. You really, really put in negative work towards what those girls feel. And it starts as adolescence. It starts at a very, very young age. So this is also applicable to the parental nature. And again, I wouldn't begin to understand how to speak to young boys because I'm not a boy dad. I've not yet experienced that. In as far as how to, talk to a son goes, like, hey, you look like a fucking bum. Go change into something else. Like, I wouldn't know. But from a girl dad perspective, it's certainly incredibly insightful to understand that there's a way to go about controlling how your daughter might dress in a positive way that also isn't going to negatively impact her idea of herself and the world around her, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Next is using sex as a weapon, shutting down all intimacy after an argument with no plan to reconnect, expecting him to earn affection back. So this one doesn't have a verbal example, but I feel like those are self-explanatory.
I think shutting down intimacy after an argument is weaponizing, like it
I
says.
agree.
I think that's you are turning yourself into a whore because you are using sex as a transactional object at that point. It is no longer about intimacy. It is absolutely about the act of having a nut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not about intimacy. It's about the act of a nut. This is partially why I have the views that I have in as far as sex on a first date goes. I don't think that you should necessarily push for sex on a first date, but I do think that attraction, raw, natural, positive attraction isn't negotiable. Okay? There shouldn't be any conditions attached to attraction. Hey, I'll give you sex if you take out the trash. Hey, I'll give you sex if you do the dishes. Hey, I'll lick your thighs. I'll lick that yum yum if you do some vacuuming tonight, or if you make me a cup of coffee, whatever. There should never, under any circumstances, be a situation where you use your intimacy, nonetheless physical intimacy, as a leverage or as a weapon against your partner. It's disgusting behavior, and it's not something that you should be participating in or encouraging. And if you see it, you should absolutely call that kind of behavior out, especially among your friends and or family. Attraction is a natural process to intimacy. It should not come at a cost. There are different ways to have a conversation about getting things done around the house, maybe, or achieving the goals that you want to achieve together as a couple, whatever that situation may be. There are other conversations you can have that don't involve using attraction as a leverage or as a weapon. I absolutely agree with that.
I think that women who sexualize or who weaponize sex like that have become unpaid prostitutes. They're trading sex for the act of something that they want done. It does make it transactional, and you are no longer in love with your person. There is no intimacy in the moment.
I agree. Next one is emotional shutdown, saying I'm fine, but offering cold treatments for days, refusing to talk about problems even after being asked multiple times.
I ain't doing that.
I know.
We ain't doing that here.
Yep.
You get 2, maybe 3s, maybe 3 of the I can tell something's up. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah.
First time I ask, if I get a, hey, I'm not ready to talk about it, but we'll talk about it when we're ready, I'll be like, did I do something wrong? And if so, is there something I can start doing right now to start repairing things while you figure things out? Or is there something I need to not do moving forward, and then we can discuss it whatever later? At least there's some sort of data given that lets me know I'm either in the wrong or it wasn't me, right? I'm fine. You're clearly not. I can tell by your tone.
Yep.
I'll ask again in another hour.
This
and
is
if
a
you're still
lesson
not
I
ready
had
to
to
talk
learn the
about
hard
it,
way.
maybe I'll ask tomorrow morning if we're still getting the cold treatment. But at that point, once that third time has happened, I'm gonna be like, I've asked you 3 times now to talk to me about what's going on. You have not told me anything other than you're fine. So if you try to bring this up later, just know that I've tried to have this conversation with you and you shut me down. I'm going to return that favor.
Yep.
It's petty as fuck. And it is absolutely matching behavior and it's toxic. And that's one of the few times in life that I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because I have tried multiple times and all you've had to say is, yes, there's something wrong. I will absolutely talk to you about it when I'm ready, but right now I'm not ready to process it. And then you need to dial down that temperature from a cold 32 degrees back up to somewhat of a bearable temperature while we're living and cohabitating together while you figure your shit out.
Yep.
Yep. Next one, neglecting praise or affirmation. Ignoring his efforts, mowing the lawn, taking care of the car, and fixing things. Never saying thank you, I appreciate you, or I'm proud of you.
Yep, this one's the gratitude thing. We've hit this one really hard the entire time, so I think we can scroll past unless you have something specific you want to hit on.
No.
Okay.
I do.
So
I
this
do.
is-
I'm going to pause this for a minute because I think that's an important topic to kind of touch on. Men and women need different things within their relationship. This just goes without saying, but I guess it needs to be talked about more often than not because I don't think people quite understand this principle nowadays. Men don't need love. Women need love. Men need respect. And what I mean by that is that how do I say it? Women love being disrespected appropriately. I don't know if I can necessarily rant on this as much as I'd like to on this platform, but women love being disrespected respectfully, correctly. Respect is not nearly as much of a big, respect is not nearly as impactful to a woman as is the feeling of, trying to figure out how to word this, the feeling of being in love and being sought after, I think is the best way I could probably word that. Whereas for men, it's quite the opposite. Men don't need a constant need of affection. Well, I mean, maybe from an egotistical standpoint, but I wouldn't even call that a need. I'd call that like a plus. I think most men do eat it up when women pine after them. It's an ego stroke for a lot of men. But men need respect, not love. In that, my friend comes over, I don't even have to ask you to make dinner or coffee. You just do it. That's something that's irreplaceable in character. That respect, being present, speaks louder than, coming up behind your man and giving him a kiss on the neck, let's say. The aspect and affection of showing love doesn't need to be present. I don't need you to hang all over me, kiss me, and play with my hair nearly as much as I need you to show respect in a way that's going to elevate me to those around other people, if that makes sense to you guys. Respect for men is what love is to women. And I think that people forget that in today's society. Not to say that men don't need love at all, not to say that women don't need respect at all, but to varying degrees, those are almost in exact opposition to one another in what's a keystone ideology to how affection is shown throughout the relationship. If you start showing a woman more respect than love, you will find yourself in a very different boat. Whereas, especially with men, for women, I apologize, if you start showing a man love over respect, you're going to see yourself with a very different kind of man. But I do think that needs to be talked about a little more often.
Is what men can do with examples that can push away their partner, back them into the corner, help them rationalize cheating for whatever the case may be. The first one is emotional disengagement, responding with grunts, I don't know, or whatever when she brings up emotional needs, zoning out on the phone or the TV during conversations.
Okay. You said that this is when she brings up emotional needs, the I don't know or whatever. I don't know and whatever are two very different things. Whatever is very dismissive,
Yes.
and I don't know could lead to more conversation. So I would want to know where the I don't know would become a problematic. If she's bringing up her emotional needs and it's just one of those things where she's just unloaded her heart and he's like, yeah, I don't know. That's dismissive as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it can be.
I guess this one is one that I don't understand where we're going. I definitely understand the zoning out on the phone or TV during conversations because there's a disconnect there and you're not listening. Is this about not validating somebody?
Yeah. So disengaging from the conversations. So I've been hit with that. I don't know. And it's when I've had conversations about my emotions with past partners and I was hit with that I don't know, it's me asking a question like, are you comprehending what I'm trying to lay out right now? Like what I just said, did that make sense to you? I don't know. Like totally not paying attention, disassociating,
Yeah.
having default responses. Yeah.
Yeah. In that situation, I can tell by the voice that you made who that was, and that dude was dumb.
Yeah.
So like, I can totally see that being a thing. I want to, because I said validation. Validation is not ownership. And the reason I say that is because if I
Validation
have
is
to
not
validate
ownership.
something that you're feeling in the moment, even if I did it, me validating your feelings is not owning the shit that I did. It's not saying that you're right and I'm wrong. It's just validating that you're feeling what you're feeling and that you're aware of it. It must really suck to feel that way. I can see that you're hurting right now and I'm sorry that you're hurting. That validation lets people know that you're picking up on the emotional aspect of what's happening. It's not an omission of guilt. And people need to make sure that they understand that it's not the same. And there needs to be repair that happens beyond the validation and not just, I'm sorry I hurt you.
Right.
Because that's passive. I actually think that's a passive aggressive way to end a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there needs to be more to that than I'm sorry I hurt you. Okay.
Next one is flirting or inappropriate behavior with other women. Texting female coworkers late at night with jokes or emojis, saying things like, it's harmless, she knows I'm married.
How do you feel about that?
All of that?
All of it.
That, if it did not stop, would probably ruin our marriage.
No, it would.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. If you were working back at the tattoo shop, and as an owner of the shop now, if you were to be texting one of the male coworkers after hours about anything other than scheduling or work, I'd have a fucking problem with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're off work. You can't do that shit while you're at work and you're on their schedule. Like, you're home with us now. Your work shit can wait.
Yeah.
If it was a girl at work and you guys were talking about going and doing something or making friendship, I would view that very differently.
I agree.
But I think that men and that cross gender messaging, there's intent behind it.
Right.
Yep. If you're home and
completely
you're there, like that should be the focus. When it comes to the opposite sex, well, I mean, I guess it works the same way if you're in a same sex marriage. It would, however that looks for you.
Right.
That would be a problem for me.
I agree.
It's harmless. She knows I'm married too, I think is a very dismissive thing. And
Yes.
this is something that literally everyone has said. Everyone has justified a friendship by something like that. This is the validating and not dismissing what your partner's feeling. And this is hard, especially if you enjoy the friendship that you're getting from these people. You don't want to end that friendship. You can distance yourself and still be quote unquote friends, but you don't have to engage with them every single day. You can distance yourself to give your partner the peace of mind that they need to let them know that you're not doing foul shit. And the more you distance yourself, the less likely that there will be emotional cheating or foul shit happening. Yeah.
I agree. Next one is taking her for granted. Never acknowledging daily efforts, cooking, parenting, cleaning, emotional support, and expecting everything to just get done without a thanks.
I think that goes to both
Yeah.
both aspects, him and her.
Yep.
I think just taking them for granted would have been a better way to word that.
Showing gratitude.
Yeah, this
is
isn't
completely
just
important.
specified for both either gender. It's just kind of like a rough outline to pay attention to.
Yeah. And I say that more because of me, because I overlook things sometimes when I'm hyper focused on shit. Walked past you the other day while you were waiting on me to come do something, and again we talked about this last night. You were like, "Hey, are you coming?" I was like, "Wait, did I walk by you?" And you're like, "Yeah." Well, fuck. Like I was so into what I was doing in the moment that I was oblivious to everything else. That's going to happen across the board.
Yep.
The other part of this is what we talked about earlier, not seeing your person.
Next one.
Yes.
Invalidating feelings. You're being too sensitive. You are always mad about something.
Oh, this is gonna open a can of worms.
This is like a two-sided coin for me,
Same.
because this can be said as manipulative and being really shitty. This can also be factual.
Right. And that's why I was like, it's gonna open a can of worms.
Yeah.
So you're being too sensitive means I don't feel the way you feel. You could be an overly sensitive person. That's a thing for a lot of people.
Yep.
You might be an underly sensitive person and nothing gets to you. And if you have those two people living in a house, there's always going to be one person that's sick of the overly sensitive shit. This is where compassion comes into play.
Yes.
But you need to be able to say like, hey, right now you're overreacting to the situation, or I don't understand why you're reacting the way you are to the situation. I don't see this as a big deal. It's still dismissive. This is one of the hardest things in a relationship to navigate, because if one person doesn't understand and the other person is going through something, the person that doesn't understand is going to seem insensitive no matter what.
Right.
Because even if they try to validate and they don't understand it, it's going to seem like lip service.
Yep.
We want our people to feel what we're feeling and to go through what we're going through, because we're doing this together.
Right.
I also can see on the other side of that coin, when you have those overly sensitive people who are either overly emotional, always crying about shit, or somebody who's always mad about something, which was the second point of this. People don't want to live with people like that.
Right.
You don't want your peace to be constantly disrupted. If you've got a beautiful landscape and somebody's constantly throwing boulders in your water, creating wake, like at some point you're gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna go look at a different lake because this is distracting and ugly to me, and I don't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a rough one. That could be a whole podcast all on its own.
Yeah.
I really don't like that.
Yeah.
I personally don't like overly sensitive people. If you can't control your emotions
Regulate.
and regulate yourself, that's a fucking problem for me. So if you are in a relationship with somebody that you view as always sensitive, maybe when they're not an emotional mess, you need to have a conversation about learning to regulate their emotions and help them with that. But if you've had those conversations and it's constantly a fucking problem, like I can see how that would end. I could see how that would lead to cheating. I could see how that could, like, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a
Absolutely.
man that's constantly punching holes in the wall and kicking tables over and fucking constantly being an emotional wreck, it's no different. You're still having your life disrupted by bullshit.
Right. Not contributing at home, refusing to help with kids or housework, then complaining she's never in the mood. Spending weekends on the couch while she runs the house.
This is one of those things that's going to make me look like a piece of shit.
Yeah. You want to go to the next one?
No, I'll look like a piece of shit. I guess this is just going to, I hope maybe I won't post this to TikTok when it happens, because this is going to get taken totally out of context.
Yeah.
Refusing to help with kids or housework. It's your responsibility to raise your children. That's not helping with the kids. That's being a parent. If your woman wants to go out, it's not your turn to babysit your children, right? Like it's parenting.
Yep.
I have a whole lot that I can say about that, but complaining that she's never in the mood, that has nothing to do with the housework or the kids. That's your lack of intimacy. Because if your intimacy was right, sit up for this. If your intimacy wasn't fucked up and you were beating the brakes off of it and everything was fulfilled and dates were happening and romance was still there and it was new again, there would be no complaining about the kids or housework. You can do a whole lot of shit when you're fulfilled and not complain about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
There are people who work themselves to death and still have a very successful marriage and do all the shit in the marriage that normal people do because they're fulfilled in their marriage.
Yep. I completely agree.
This is, I'm not seeing. I'm tired of the kids are a lot. Sex isn't happening when I want it. It's not happening how I want it. There's no longer, the excitement of text messages while we're at work and away from each other. There's no longer, I miss you. I'm looking at the clock knowing you're going to get home in a half hour. I'm getting mad about it. Because I'd rather be home by myself than have you as a body on the couch watching me do shit. There's a whole lot that goes into that, which makes somebody never in the mood. And it comes down to resentment. I think that's surface level shit. And I think that if the intimacy was right, that wouldn't matter.
I disagree with that.
Really? Why is that?
Because if there's still intimacy, but I'm still drowning in housework and I feel like I'm the only one parenting the kids, that's not enough.
That's where we differ. Maybe this is a man versus woman thing, because I could do all of the things that are done in the house and I could stay on top of it. And as long as my love meter is being filled while doing it, it's not going to affect me. I have no problem taking on more and more work until I've got nothing going on, and that's all I do. As long as I get a little bit of time to make sure that my tank is on F and not on E, I'm golden.
So I'm going to pause it here for just a second because I do think that in of itself could be its own podcast, could be its own talking point. I do think that there's an amount of, and not to say that you should certainly pluck the feathers off the turkey, so to speak, that you should de-emotionalize your women or your partners or your wives. But I do think that there is a conversation at some point in time that, may or may not be needed to have that consists of you need to be able to, I don't want to say self-fulfill, but that you should be able to regulate yourself. I've said this before, not necessarily on this podcast, but I have heard a lot from a lot of women in today's dating world and the dating market that exists now, that women very often feel like slaves to their household, and it bothers me that there's not more making time for yourself, that there's no time management present. If a man can go to work 8 to 12 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week, and still make time to go to D&D, go out to the bar and grab a beer, to go to the A's game with his buddies, to hit the local high school football game during football season and just kind of go relax. If a man is able to carry a household and still make time for himself, why can't a woman? And the answer is because they're emotionally driven. And that's not necessarily a bad thing in of itself. But when you combine that with a, what's the word I'm looking for? When you combine that with a personality that, could be woe is me or could be very needy, let's say, you're not going to understand how to manage your own time, and you're not going to put yourself together a schedule that's going to allow you to, I don't know, you wake up with the kids at 6 o'clock or at 6 o'clock. You make breakfast, you're writing yourself out a schedule. 6 to 7 is breakfast and getting the kids ready. 7 to 7:30 is physical breakfast. 7:30 to 8 is scoot him out the door, get him to school time. Okay. 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock is house chores. You vacuum, clean the toilet, do your mopping, throw the dishes in the dishwasher from the night before. Done. 10 to, I don't know, noon is mommy time, me time. I paint, I read, I fucking do arts and crafts, whatever it is. I'm able to schedule some me time for what I want. Then maybe, fucking noon to 1 is nap time. From 1 to 3, 1 to 2 is, I don't know, more housework, I guess. I mean, obviously, the more kids you have, the more responsibility you have. If you've got no kids, and then your house chores as a wife are going to look very different than one kid. One kid is going to look very different from 3 kids. Okay? So that goes without saying, but and then, maybe from, 3:30 to 6 is dinner time. Or you getting shit prepared for dinner. You're getting your shit together for the crock pot, threw a roast in, whatever. I don't know, anything. But you're lacking in some very serious scheduling capabilities if you never have time for yourself. If you're just so overwhelmed and so burdened with everything that's going on, then I would argue that you lack in some very serious, not accountability, but you definitely lack in the ability to carve out time for yourself. If I'm able to go to work full time 6 days a week and carve out, 3 hours a night where I get to play World of Warcraft and League of Legends with my buddies before I have to go to bed at fucking 10 o'clock so I can be up at 4 o'clock the next morning, have my cigarette and coffee time before 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock hits. Now it's time for me to walk to work at the time of the Denver license. Now I have to walk to work, so I'm there by 5:36 or so. And from 6 o'clock till fucking 5 o'clock, my ass is at work. If I'm able to do those things, then so should you. So that's just my opinion.
Maybe that's the difference between men and women.
Maybe.
The spending weekends on the couch while she runs the house. I think that there's ways around that. I think that if she did everything that she needed to do during the week, the weekends can wait.
I agree.
I think that's poor time management. And that's
Yep.
that's why I was like, I'm gonna get hate on for this.
yeah.
If it's her job to run the house and it's his job to go to work and he's working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and he's coming home and she's getting mad that he's not doing shit in the house, he's already done his job. If you're a stay-at-home and the house is your job, it's not my fucking responsibility to step in and do this shit for you. Raising the kids is a different conversation. Doing the housework is not the same thing.
Yep.
If my job is to go out and dig ditches all day, you don't come to work with me on Monday and dig ditches. Or if I've got to go to work on Saturday, you're not coming with me to dig ditches. That's my job.
Yep.
For us, my job is editing and making sure that the back end of all of this is working. I don't ever ask you to do any of that shit because it's my job. Just like you don't ever ask me to do the dishes. That's your job. This comes down to making sure that you time manage effectively, make sure that you get your shit done and learn to fucking relax a little bit. Your house being dirty for the weekend's not the end of the fucking world. Unless you've got like dirty diapers laying all over the place because you're too lazy to get off the fucking couch and throw the diaper away after you change a child, that's a problem. Or if there's, dirty bowls of SpaghettiOs stuck all over the place because the kids aren't putting it in the sink and you're not paying attention, that's a problem.
Yep.
But all of that other shit could be resolved, and that could be resolved by making sure that you're making sure that your kids are doing what they need to be doing. I think that that spending time on the weekends, you guys should be taking the weekends off. Let the fucking house get dirty. You got to clean it Monday anyways.
Right.
Let's let this motherfucker be dirty. Let's go somewhere. Let's take the kids to grandparents and drop them off and go do something this weekend.
Yep.
We'll dirty up the hotel room instead of the house, and that shit can wait until we come home. Let's not go anywhere and binge Netflix together because I haven't seen you all week. Right? Like, I don't know. I really have a problem with the last one.
Okay. Next one is avoiding difficult conversations, walking away during arguments, or refusing to talk about long-standing problems with let's not get into this right now.
So this is one of those double-sided coins also. Walking away during an argument looks like two different things. One is literally just walking away from an argument and never resolving anything. And the other one is I'm really angry right now and I need to cool off. I'm going to take a break. We're going to go for a walk. I'll be back in 30 minutes. So how that looks matters. The second part of this, refusing to talk about long-standing problems with let's not get into this right now. This is that everything is going good right now. Why are you bringing this back up? The why they're bringing this back up is because the last time they tried to get it brought up, it wasn't resolved. And they're holding on to unresolved bullshit because you're not willing to have the conversations with them to validate what they're going through, apologize, and start making amends. It's also important to recognize that you can change your behavior and be working on doing everything that they need you to do, but because you didn't validate their emotions, they're still hung up on it. It's okay to feel however you're feeling.
Right.
I may not agree with it. You may not agree with it on my end. We obviously have some shit to process right now. So let's absolutely get into this right now so that we don't have to do it again in the future.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Next one is letting romance die, never initiating dates, compliments, or gestures, stopping flirtation, surprise, or creative energy.
That's the worst.
Yep.
The laziness.
All of it.
Yeah.
That whole thing. Never initiating dates. Never initiating, period. And like without dates on there, people would think that you mean sex. But never showing initiative. How about that?
That's good.
That'll absolutely kill some fucking romance because now you're showing that you're not interested anymore. We said early on in the relation on the podcast that you should constantly pursue your person.
Yep.
If they don't feel like they are the hottest thing in the world to you, the way that they felt in the beginning, things are going to start to fade away. And that comes from the initiation of all of things. And then stopping flirting, surprise, or creative energy, that's falling into that routine. This is just what my life is. I don't have to chase her. I've already got her. I'm tired. She's tired. We're just going to go home and watch TV because that's what our life has become. You can do something really simple as like getting a chocolate bar for your person when you go to the gas station. It does not take much to just be like, hey, I still love you. I got you something.
Right.
I can tell you're on your period right now. I brought you some chocolate, right? Like, I don't know.
It does not take much. Next one.
I have to ask you, am I supposed to continue doing this?
What do you mean?
Like you've been reading and I've been going.
Oh, that's just how it started.
Okay. I didn't know if that's what you wanted to do. Like you keep looking over here. So I'm trying to fill the space.
It's just what's happening.
I don't want to take over. This was your document. I don't want to take over your episode. So if you have, I can sit here and rock can look pretty.
No, this works.
Okay.
The next one is showing strangers more energy than her. Being charming at work or with friends, but cold or quiet at home. Being the fun guy for everyone else, but emotionally flat in the relationship.
This says I don't like my person.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
There's actually a whole lot to this. This is being charming at work or with friends, but cold or quiet at home. This means that they are getting more out of their social circle outside of the house than they do at home. There's such a huge disconnect there that I would rather hang out and do other shit with other people than be around you. And if we go out and do those things and you're still there and I'm with these other people, I am more close to them than I am to you. And that doesn't mean love. It just means that this is where my relationships are strongest and you're just kind of not a part of this. Being the fun guy for everyone else, but emotionally flat in a relationship, that one, can you elaborate on that? Is this somebody that's like pranking everyone at work and comes
No,
home
like
and is
he has a
bland?
different
Like,
personality. He likes to have fun and be around people and he's laughing and joking and interacting and all those other kinds of things. And then when he comes home, there is disinterest,
Okay, yeah, that speaks
disengagement.
to just not liking their person.
Yeah. Next point, so we are transitioning the conversation again, is to how long-term emotional instability wears down a relationship. First one is walking on eggshells, and these all have examples as well. This one is every time she brings up needing more help around the house, he explodes, so I'm just a failure now.
That's manipulation.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
She starts keeping her thoughts to
100%
herself to avoid
manipulation.
conflict. Over time, she says less and feels less.
How do you deal with that?
What?
I'm just a failure now.
Is that what I said? That's what I ask people. Is that what I said?
Well, what if that's what they heard? 'Cause
Well, then
that
then
might
they
be
have
what
to say that. Is that what I just said to you?
Yep.
No. Okay, so what you said is what you heard from me.
What if they say that is what you said?
Let me repeat myself.
So okay, hold on. I would argue that you need to have a different kind of conversation. One thing I've had to learn the hard way, I'm 35, so I'm a bit older than most folks. But in your communication with, from the male standpoint, whenever I'm confronted with, hey, can we talk, or hey, we need to talk, or whatever, because Sage especially was notorious for bringing home shit from work, like, oh, the girl said this, the girl said that, whatever. Can you believe this was said, blah, blah, blah. One thing I've had to learn is that you, as the man, need to, instead of rolling your eyes or going, oh, okay, whatever, or, even being flamboyant, oh my God, tell me about the tea, what's going on? Your conversation should be, do you want advice or do you want a listening ear? Because 9 times out of 10, women don't want an answer to a solution. When women come to you with a problem or say something like, hey, honey, I've had a bad day at work, the girl said this, blah, 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 whatever, this happened. It is in man's nature to fix problems. When you bring me a problem, my innate reaction is to fix it. Oh my God, this girl said that I'm fat in my outfit or in my dress code at work, and it really hurt my feelings. Okay, well, here's a schedule that we can put you on. We're going to go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning together. We're going to work out, and we're going to start working on blah, 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 blah. our innate reaction is to fix the problem that you give to us. And 9 times out of 10, women don't want an answer to the problem. They just want their problems to be heard. So rather than getting invested in the conversation and becoming a part of the tea, or the opposite of that spectrum, shrugging it off and ignoring it and pretending like it doesn't exist because it annoys you and it's just useless drabble that women bring home to men, I would argue that your reaction and your response should be something along the lines of, okay, well, before we talk about this, is this something that you want a solution to, or is this something you want to vent about? And that's worked out very well for me in my practices in the dating world, because then I'm not immediately jumping to, protector mode and trying to solve problems where problems don't need to be solved. It's just something that you want to talk about.
How conflict is happening.
Yeah. I'm going to repeat myself, and we can either have a conversation about this like an adults, or we can take a break. You can gather yourself and we can try this again. But if that's going to be the reaction every single time, I'm good on that.
Right.
I really don't do well with people who are explosive and try to manipulate situations like that.
I don't either.
Like, you are not going to put words in my mouth to make you seem like a victim in this.
I know the right way to fix. I know the right way to handle this situation. If that I'm just a failure now, and you say that's not what I said, and that is what you said. The proper way, the diplomatic way to fix that is, I am not articulating myself properly. Then I would like to rewind, and I would like to rephrase my wording so that I can properly convey my point, because that's not what I was trying to say. Say it calm. That's the right way to deal with it. The I want to deal with it is, if the shoe fits, motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
you are a failure now. If this is where we're going in the conversation and you're trying to manipulate and get explosive, you can be that guy. You
Right.
are.
And I'm going to pause it right here because this is also important, guys. It's okay in certain circumstances to walk back what you said and go, look, give me a minute. I need to rethink about what I said. Or, hey, I said X, Y, Z, and I didn't mean it this way. So let me, give me 5 minutes and kind of let me collect myself. So I'm communicating in a different way because I didn't say what I meant to say. Like, there's nothing immature, and there's nothing in poor taste about going, hey, you know what? I said something that I felt like was either inappropriate, or I didn't maybe explain it the right way. So give me a minute and kind of let me think about what it is and walk it back and say it a little bit differently so you understand it better. There's nothing wrong with, in the moment of having a conversation, heated or otherwise, of, look, this is not what I meant. I meant it this way. Maybe I could word it a little bit differently. That's perfectly fine. And I know a lot, especially as men, a lot of our initial reaction is to go, oh, well, if, like you said, if the shoe fits, fuck you, wear it. That's very often our response to things. And, young and old alike, it doesn't matter. At some point, you need to reach maturity level in your life where you kind of need to cognitively go, okay, maybe I said something I didn't mean. Maybe I said something fucked up, whatever. This obviously, I could tell by the look on your face, what I said came off incorrectly. Hold on, let me kind of rethink about what I said and how I could say it maybe a little bit differently, so the conversation doesn't go sideways.
Are a failure. You have failed at a lot of things. Let me point them out to you so that you can see how I see you in the moment. Since I was trying to have a calm conversation with you and trying to correct the behavior, now you're trying to manipulate me. This is very slippery ground.
Oh, yeah.
For me.
Hold on, chat. I'll be right back.
be patient. Just hurry up and wait.
Right?
Yeah, my toxic comes out pretty quick.
Real fucking quick. Because I'm not going to, I don't do the manipulation thing. If I feel like I'm being manipulated, it brings out a whole different side of me. And I understand that it's my trauma. I know it's my fucking trauma. But I do not do well with that shit.
Yeah. The biggest trigger in all of that is, do you think I'm fucking stupid?
They do.
Yeah.
They do think that.
Right. Yep. The next one is repetitive circular arguments.
I need a second. I just put myself in that position and my heart is beating faster right now.
Okay.
Like I'm a little upset.
Yeah.
Why does this happen to us? Why is that a thing? Because this is obviously not happening.
Right. The emotional connection that you have to it.
It
or
is
the memories that you have.
That is a true trauma response.
Yeah. Your nervous system is having a reaction.
Wow. I want to yell. I do. I want to yell.
Yeah, I want to yell.
The next one is repetitive circular arguments. They fight about his phone use. He apologized. It happens again next week. She cries, threatens to leave. He begs, love bombs, and promises change. Nothing changes. 6 months later, they're still having the same fight, now with more resentment.
I don't know what to say about this one.
That made my back hurt.
Yeah. This is placating a situation. The example is they fought about his phone use. He apologized, and then it happens again next week. The apology is shut up.
It's the Band-Aid.
It's not even a Band-Aid. It's I can tell you're upset, and if I apologize, you're gonna stop. I don't want to have a bad night, so I'm gonna placate you right now, knowing that I can do this again next week, and then we'll have another fight about it for next week. But that's an hour or two out of 168. So I can continue doing what I'm doing out of the 166 other hours that I have to have a 2-hour discomfort where you're upset, and I'll just go back to doing what I'm doing. That's how I view that. That's how I view apology without change behavior. You are nothing more than lip service. That's also a form of manipulation.
I agree.
Could you imagine fighting over the same thing for 6 months?
Fuck no. I couldn't imagine fighting about the same thing the next day. If we had a conversation in the morning and you bring that shit up at dinner, what are we doing right now? Am I in the Twilight Zone?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not. Now, if it's a conversation of I've thought about more things and I have elaborations to add to our conversation, I'll hear that all day.
Okay.
You have new epiphanies. You just learned something about yourself. There is something I need to be aware of in the relationship that can help avoid what happened in the morning. Yeah, 100% those conversations are happening. But if you're trying to pick a fight, or I thought about this and it pissed me off and I didn't think about it this morning and now we're going to hash it out again, we're not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all really super problematic behavior.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that, though.
100%.
I think that's more common than you would probably like to admit.
I did shit like that.
I think everybody has. You know, this is the end of the Dazed and Confused movie where the guy gets punched by that dude, or
Yeah.
you know, he ends up hitting that guy and getting his ass kicked. You dwell on something and you fixate on it, and that fixation creates a whole lot of other problems. This is why you need to take time to walk away and think about other things or do something else and process your shit. I don't know. That's a lot.
Emotional outburst followed by intense closeness. She screams, slams a door, blocks him for 2 days, and then shows up with takeout and cuddles like nothing happened. The cycle becomes familiar. Fight, freeze out, make up sex, and then silence. He's exhausted but afraid to say anything in case it sets her off again.
I wouldn't tolerate that.
Me either.
That's one of those things that's somebody living in an unhealed state and doing absolutely nothing to heal themselves.
Yep. And they have an enabler in their life. Next one is one partner becomes the regulator. Every disagreement turns into a meltdown. He spends hours calming her down, avoiding triggers, managing her emotions. He begins to feel more like a therapist or a babysitter than a partner. Eventually, he will disconnect emotionally and physically.
I think that there's been a lot of people who have been in relationships where this has become a thing. And I think you find yourself very disconnected with your person, but afraid to leave because you're afraid of the backlash that's going to come from their emotional response.
Or feeling responsible for their life.
That's a big one too. I don't want to leave because what if they unalive themselves? What if they hurt themselves?
Oh,
What if they lose the job that they have? Or
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. There's
Being
a
an
difference
emotional
between using your partner as a support to lean on in emotional
there.
times
Been
and
there
then
a
using
couple
them as a
times.
regulator, like what was just described.
That shit gets old.
Yeah.
People don't want to live like that. I've been saying that a lot lately. I couldn't imagine, like, the better our life gets, like, our life is dope as fuck. It's getting better. Like, it's constantly evolving and becoming more. To think about living in a situation that I've lived in the past, it's fucking like, it's disgusting to me. Like, it's repulsive.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine going back and living in situations like that. Like, my cutoff game is already strong as fuck. Like, I'll cut people off over really minute shit.
Yeah.
But like, after living the life that we're living, my propensity for bullshit, or that tolerance, has gotten much, much thinner. There's a whole lot of things in life that I'm not willing to tolerate or deal with. And dealing with an unhinged individual, like, the moment you show me that you're dysregulated emotionally and you can't reel that the fuck back, you are out of my life. Period. That's a rough one, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Emotionally shutting down as protection. She gets anxious and interrogates him constantly. Why didn't you text back? Who were you with? At first, he reassures, then defends, and then retreats. Eventually, he stops sharing anything because everything becomes a fight. She interprets his silence as proof that he's hiding something.
Yeah. That's just another toxic behavior. All of these are super toxic.
Yeah. The next one is passive-aggressive withdrawal. He says nothing is wrong but slams cabinets and gives one-word answers for 3 days. She guesses, apologizes, and overfunctions to restore peace. He never clearly communicates what he feels, just punishes her with silence.
So this is one of those things that gets overcompensating on both ends. Because him doing what he's doing in this situation, slamming cabinets and doing what he's doing, he is overreacting to a situation instead of dealing with it from a calm standpoint. But he's also putting her in a position where she has to overcompensate to try to find her way back into his good graces again. I view that as abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, I agree. 100%.
100%.
Yep. Disproportionate reactions to small issues. She forgets to call him back. He texts, wow, I guess I'm not a priority again. Don't bother. This could have been a calm conversation. It turns into a storm again. She begins to dread communication because everything feels like a trap.
This is also manipulation.
I agree.
That, wow, I guess I'm not a priority again. Don't bother is pity me.
Childish.
I'm the victim. You now have to
Childish.
compensate and make up for what you just did.
You have to get back in my good graces.
If this is early relationship shit, these are all red flags.
100%.
This is something that, like, you run the other way the moment something like this happens.
Unpredictable moods create unsafe space. Some days he's sweet, loving, and attentive. Other days he's cold, irritable, or gone. She never knows what mood to expect, so she stays guarded. Intimacy can't grow where emotional safety does not exist.
Yep. I don't have nothing on that one.
Emotional intensity replaces real intimacy. Example, the highs are so high, gifts, passion, declarations, and the lows are so low, yelling, withdrawal, and chaos. She confuses intimacy for depth, but it's not intimacy, it's adrenaline.
That speaks to another, more to mental health.
And abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one, relationship becomes a source of anxiety, not peace. He used to feel calm around her. Now he feels anxious every time he hears her voice, wondering if it'll be a good day or another storm. Eventually, he feels more peace alone than he does when he's with her.
Yeah. It's a sign that it's time to go.
Yeah. And now I believe this is the last part of our journey here is when to walk away from a relationship. So this is a question that we get asked a lot in live streams, TikTok comments, emails. When is enough enough? When should I know when to walk away? Everything that we just talked about are really, really good indicators of things.
Yeah.
This is a very rough outline of things that I would pay attention to in a relationship and would heavily factor that in on whether or not I want to stay in it.
I agree with that. I think that a lot of things before we get into this, time frames of relationships matter, how enmeshed your life is, if you're married, all of that factors into things. But my answer to all of this is when it's time to walk away from a relationship is when you no longer feel safe in that relationship.
Yeah.
There's not a right time. If things don't feel right for you anymore, it's time to move on.
I had a friend. I'm not friends with this gentleman anymore. I used to have a friend a long, long time ago when I first was in Discord and was doing Discord stuff. I had a friend who was and he had I want to say not split personality disorder. What was it? It's BPD. He was bipolar. Is what it was. He was bipolar, and he was so emotionally erratic that it felt like walking on eggshells anytime he popped into Discord. And I'm very grateful now that I was able to see what I saw, and he's no longer a part of my life. But this also works on a platonic level for friendships, not just romance. Although obviously it's especially important for romance. I mean, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells, or you're dealing with somebody who's they're good for a couple days and then something explodes and it's crazy and wah wah wah, and then it's good for a couple days and then crazy wah wah wah, and then there is no excuse for an allotment of regular emotional irregulation. Regular irregular emotional stability is not just obviously draining, but it's also incredibly toxic and manipulative. I do think that there's a difference between an individual having good days and bad days versus regularly being emotionally unstable. As a cancer patient, for most of my life, there's definitely days where I am very short, very rude, very blunt, or quite the opposite. I'm just distant. I don't really have conversation. I'm not in Discord. I'm kind of giving one-worded answers type shit. But I get it. I definitely have my good days and bad days, but I do my best to make sure that I am emotionally, how do I word this? I do my best to make sure that I am mentally and emotionally stable to a point where my bad days don't infect the people around me, to a point that not only is my life dysfunctional on a regular basis, but then the people around me feel like they have to be like on edge, I guess, around me, because at any moment I could explode, or I could have just a fuck you, get fucked moment. And this kind of ties into earlier when they were talking about making sure that I'm okay so you're okay. You sometimes you need to take a good look in the mirror and go, wow, you know what, this is a problem that I see within myself that is not only obviously affecting me, but then it's affecting the people around me. And if it's really starting to affect the people around me, maybe I should take a second look at certain behaviors, how I approach conversations, how I word things, my verbiage in certain things, whatever. And again, obviously this applies toward romantic relationships as well. Absolutely.
We're not meant to be with everyone.
Correct.
And sometimes people share time in your life and it's great. And sometimes they have to go their own way and things fall apart.
We are not meant for
that's just
everyone.
kind of the way that it is. So
Repeated cheating, betrayal of trust. You've forgiven them after the first affair, but they've cheated again or continue messaging other people inappropriately. A pattern of infidelity shows a lack of respect for boundaries and commitment within the relationship.
I can see the forgiveness happening on a first time, like a first thing of infidelity, and working through that. But I think multiple shows that that's just who they are as a person, and they're not going to be happy with just one person.
Yeah.
They want their freedom, but they want the stay at home fake relationship, or maybe they're using somebody for money. Like there's a whole lot of things that go into that.
Yeah.
So I agree on the first one. If it happens once and you're able to forgive them, and it happens a second time, got to go.
Yeah. Next one is disrespect becomes the normal. They constantly belittle you in public, mock your dreams, or use hurtful language when you've expressed how much it affects you. And then again, love cannot thrive where respect does not exist.
How far do you let that disrespect go?
I check it in the moment.
I mean, like how far do you let it happen? So like they're non-negotiables for me.
Yeah. Okay.
If you ever disrespected me in public, no matter how great our relationship is, I would have a very hard time coming back from that. I think that I would have an easier time coming back from infidelity than you disrespecting me in public.
I believe that.
And I honestly,
What did we talk about earlier, chat? What did we talk about earlier? That men need respect and women need love, and they're not the same thing towards one another. He just said, and this is just him as his own man. He could forgive her cheating far more easily than he could forgive her openly disrespecting him. That's something to really think about. And I would argue this also goes in the reverse. And this doesn't just apply towards like mockery or necessarily, your partner talking shit about you. But I mean, if my partner or partners want to, become, hairdressers, if they're passionate about being hairdressers, they love making other women feel beautiful and themselves feel beautiful. They have an interest in the science of the makeup and whatever else. If I'm not supportive of that particular dream or passion, I would argue it's just as detrimental for me to say, well, that's fucking stupid of you to want to do, just as detrimental as it is for me to, thank you, darling, for me to not like be involved in that process. And what I mean by that is, again, because men, I would argue, are built to solve problems. And that's why it's important to communicate, hey, are you bringing me a problem or are you just wanting to vent? Because when I see you actively working towards a goal, like, you're wanting to, cure some depressive bouts, you want to be better at housework, you want to learn how to cook, you want to do this, I'll buy you cookbooks. I'll buy you self-help books. I'll get you a workout book with fucking 50 volumes of different workouts in different positions. I'll buy you yoga books. I'll do X, Y. I will do my best to help you reach the goals that you want to reach as a human being and as my partner. And it goes without saying, this also works platonically. You want to learn how to stream? Let me help you how to stream. You want to learn how to do basic, house carpentry? I'll do my best to teach you how to do that. But just as equally as a destructive a force is the lack of caring. Hey, I want to stream. Okay, well, I'm never going to watch your stream. I'm never going to give you topics to talk about. I'm just going to kind of be a bump on a log and yeah, what the fuck ever. That's just as detrimental as, hey, what you're talking about is fucking stupid, right? Or, again, you want to be a hairdresser, that's great. Saying you're going to be a fucking terrible hairdresser or this is, a dumb goal, you shouldn't do it, is just as destructive as, me not doing my best to help you get to where you're going, right? And this is a behavior that should be checked very early on. And this is what I mean, too, because I've talked about this before, not necessarily on this podcast, but just in general. You can very quickly tell what friends are for you and who's really not for you. You can tell what partners are for you and who's really not for you based on their actions and their words. And that's not to say that you always need a friend or a partner to be up your ass. That's not saying that, you need, daily encouragement. Hey, you could do this, baby, blah, blah, blah. But you could sincerely tell who is doing their best to help you get to where you want to go versus who's just there along for the ride. I would say I have a handful of friends. Among my handful of friends, I have one who harps on me regularly about streaming. I have one who is constantly in my ass about turning it on and doing what I need to do. I've got lots of family. Only one member of my family ever even remotely speaks about my streaming. Just one. One of the 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, one of the 4 remotely talks about it. Okay. again, that doesn't mean that, you should be, hey, you could, it's not an everyday thing. But if the people around you, and especially in a romantic context, if the people around you aren't for you, then what the fuck are you doing? I mean, I feel like that's a pretty obvious thing, but at the end of the day, you make your sacrifices where you make them, and I guess you do the best you can, but I would argue that kind of that open disrespect definitely has a short leash, and as it should, again, and it goes both ways. If you don't have a man who's trying to be a man, then what are you doing as a woman? Why are you with this guy? And vice versa. If you don't have a woman who's supportive of your goals and dreams and values, then you're just playing house, right?
I couldn't even tell you why that is. There might be an embarrassment factor there. I don't know, but I would have a really fucking hard time with that. So like being belittled is a problem for me. It shows that you think that I'm less than, right? There's a whole lot psychologically that goes into somebody belittling somebody else. Mocking your dreams. Like, you're supposed to be my person. You're supposed to be the person that tells me that my dreams are attainable, that they're not fucking stupid. We can do all this shit together. We're a fucking team. We got this. Let's go. Using hurtful language, I can also see being problematic, especially if there's like name calling and shit. This one is a real problem for me.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that ended my first marriage was I don't appreciate being called a bitch. And when the other person believes that it's just a word, yeah, it led to, that's one of those festering things where it's not a big deal in the moment, but as it continues to happen and that lack of respect, and you're clearly not hearing how I'm feeling about this whole situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you've expressed that you have a problem with that word and it's
Right.
continued to be used, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because their belief is more important than what's going on in the relationship.
I don't think it's a belief thing.
Yeah.
No, I think it's I'm more important than you are. That's a superiority thing. You don't matter as much. And let me show you how little you matter. I'm going to use the terminology that I know bothers you.
Yeah.
That's abuse.
I agree.
That is something that narcissists do.
It's an under the thumb.
Right. Absolutely.
Next one.
Yep.
Lack of accountability. Every argument ends with them blaming you, even when they clearly did something wrong. They never apologize or admit fault. Growth is impossible when one person refuses to take responsibility.
I think that
Okay. Again, I've got a friend who we're almost gay, but this is something that he and I practice on a very regular basis within our intimate conversations. This is what I see wrong, but this is where I'm also wrong. This isn't a blaming game. This isn't a pointing the finger. I'm wrong here, but you're wrong here. I'm wrong here, but you're wrong here. And that should be a practice. Accountability should be a practice throughout any dynamic of a relationship, whether it's platonic, whether it's family, whether it's romantic, it doesn't matter. You need, as a human being, you need to have the ability to hold up a mirror and go, okay, well, this is also where I'm wrong. And as iron sharpens iron, man sharpens man, this is also why it's important to have people around you who are also actively not, I don't want to say it working on themselves, but who are at least in the momentum of it. Because when you're better, I'm better. So as my friend, this is what I want to see better for you. This is where I can see you do better. Perfect. Hey, as my sibling, as my family member, I see you doing this, and this is, where I think you could be doing better. I could be doing better here too. Furthermore, to even compound on that, I'd like you to help me with this, so I can help you with this. It goes back and forth. No one's perfect, and I don't think anybody expects perfection. But iron sharpens iron as man sharpens man, as we used to say in seminary. And this is why it's so important to have people around your circle who are willing to have a conversation with you and tell you things that you maybe don't necessarily like hearing. the people around you who, you know, are willing to check you and correct you are some of the best folks that you're ever going to find. I've got some friends that I just can't have a conversation with because they're not lunatics, but they're so not emotionally regulated that they you know, maybe they're far into their alcohol and they can't you know, coherently have a conversation necessarily. I can have some conversations with a friend of mine that are mountain moving, that'll shape fucking rocks, that'll change society if we were to ever be in a position of power together, right? Versus maybe some relationships, romantically or even again platonically, that you can't have those conversations, that you can't connect on that level, and that's unfortunate. So practicing accountability on a regular basis is just it is innumerously important.
The argument needs to end with both people taking accountability for their hand in things.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm sorry that this happened, and I'm sorry for my role in blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry that it happened too, and I'm sorry for my role in blah, blah, blah.
Physical.
Hold on. I think that it's important that that's verbalized and it's actually stated out loud because it can also lead to changed behavior because you're now speaking things into existence.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
So these are not all of these have to be compounded with other things. A lot of these are, yeah, that's a hard no for me, and I'm willing to leave the relationship over it. Okay. I wanted to get that out before we continue going down the list.
Yeah. Well, that belittling one, like, and a new relationship or somebody that's
yeah.
not living together or not married, that would happen one time. That'd be the end of this
Yeah.
shit.
Physical or emotional abuse. They have shoved you during an argument or constantly call you names like worthless or stupid. Abuse, physical, verbal, or emotional, is a non-negotiable exit sign.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I don't care where that is in the relationship.
No.
I don't care if you've been married for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
Yep.
There is no coming back from that for me.
I agree. It's weird the way that we have our levels of like what is redeemable and what is not.
Next one is trust is shattered and it cannot be rebuilt. You check their phone because you don't believe their words anymore, and every interaction feels like an interrogation. A relationship without trust becomes a poison for both people, or a prison for both people.
I agree with this one too.
Yep.
The trust thing is a really big one for me. That's one of those things where like I think a conversation could be had if I just don't trust you anymore, and they're like, we need to find a way to rebuild that. And there's a lot of work that's going to have to come into play, and it could take a year or two, right? And like if both people are willing to go through that and they're willing to do the work, it could work. I think more often than not, it's easier to just be like, I don't trust you and this isn't working and I'm out. But that also speaks to the length or the position of the relationship, like where you are in your relationship. Because if that's in the first 6 months, deuces. Like that's just one of those things that there's not even a discussion that needs to be had. That would literally be the breakup for me. At a 6 months mark, like, hey, I don't trust you. I can't do this. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next one is your mental health is declining. You feel anxious, depressed, or drained every day because of the relationship, and your friends notice that you've changed. A healthy relationship should bring peace, not constant chaos.
I think that there is a time and place for that.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those, this is not a one size fits all situation.
That's correct.
If your mental health is declining because of abuse and things that are bad in the relationship, it's different. But if your mental health is declining because you're dealing with a sick partner, like there's a lot of struggle that comes into that. Like you should be there, you know.
Unwillingness to work on issues. You pour your heart out saying, we need help. I can't do this alone. And they shrug it off. That's just how I am. You can suggest counseling, compromise, and then they laugh, call it stupid, or accuse you of being dramatic. If you feel you're carrying the entire relationship on your back while they stand still. A relationship cannot survive when only one person is fighting for it.
This is just who I am
Yeah.
is one of those statements that says, I refuse to change. You can accept me for who I am or you can leave because I don't give a fuck enough to change.
Right.
That is one of those statements that I used to use in the past all the time. This is who I am. You can like it or go. Like, I'm not going to fucking change me for you. That says a lot about your relationship. It says a lot about the majority of the person in your relationship because I was broken as fuck when I used to say that shit. That's a huge manipulation thing.
Yeah.
Because if I say this is just who I am, you need to fucking accept it, and you do, and you don't leave, the next time we have a fight, that's my go-to. You know this is who I am. You know what you signed up for.
Right.
Yeah, that's fucking some gross manipulation shit right
Well,
there.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's
Next
okay.
one is-
Hold on. I agree and I disagree with this because, to an extent, what you see is what you get with people, and especially in a romantic context. Um, Let me. What example can I use? Um, okay, so I had an ex who did OnlyFans for a little bit, for a lot of it, but she had BPD, not bipolar. It was actually whatever BPD stands. She had BPD. She was untherapized. She wasn't medicated. She wasn't going to counseling for it. She had uh, communicated that she didn't want to do that anymore. That it was literally just an easy meet. Excuse me. It was an easy means to an end, because men are easily manipulated by flesh. That's just how it goes. But she wanted to be a mom. She wanted to get on meds. She wanted to do X, Y, Z, and just with her lifestyle of being homeless and having poor family connections, whatever, was never ever able to be in a situation where she was able to ground herself and do the stay-at-home mom thing, get off the OF and focus on herself, her mental health, blah, 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 blah. And I was manipulated by my own weakness into believing all this horse shit and blah, 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 blah. But I thought that she wanted better for herself, and as most men are, we are fixers of problems. That's how, and unfortunately, a lot of men don't learn this very early on, that what you see is what you get. So what I saw was someone who was doing OF, someone who was emotionally irregulated, and someone who needed constant attention. And I fell in the same trap that I fell into with Angel. And I'm not talking shit, I'm just saying, as a matter of factly, rewinding 13 years ago when I met Angel on MySpace. MySpace? No. Meet Me, back then. My Yearbook, I believe it was called. She wasn't going to school. She said she was, but she wasn't. She was going to school. She lived with her mom. She was kind of floating through life looking for somewhere to go. When we had started dating, she would come over on the weekends and she would kind of cook, but not really. She would do like maybe dishes, but I mean, she wouldn't vacuum, she wouldn't clean. Like there was no showing of performance, let's call it. And even truth be told, there was during the dating phase before she moved in, there wasn't a whole lot of sex either. It wasn't until she moved in and we started living together that the sex really came online. But I should have seen those red flags very early on, and I didn't. And there is no more of a beautiful example than that. What you see is what you get with people. Now there might be, and I guess it just depends on the relationship dynamic. There might be, one would hope anyway that there's growth throughout that relationship. But for the most part, it is a cookie cutter build. What you see is what you get. And so, I don't necessarily think that when he's talking about how, using that as a form of, is a form of manipulation, I don't think that that's necessarily true. I mean, it is in the context of I'm emotionally mature and I'm not moving anywhere in life or in my mentality or what I'm doing. I like to think I've grown a little bit over the last 5, 6 years of not being with my ex, Sage. I think I'm a very different man now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that I have come up with some very different point of views that I was not practicing with her that I do practice now. There has been an amount of growth, and I'm very proud of that growth. I see it in my sex life. I see it in my friendships. I see it in my day-to-day lifestyle, and I see it in my character. And I mean, a lot of that is not only tied into what I've allowed to tolerate, but also, you know, just finding out my autism diagnosis, unmasking from all that, and things in the past. But yeah, man, what you see is what you get with some people, and that's just how it goes. You either have to know what you're looking at and accept it, or move away from the situation in that relationship, because what you see is, and especially in the romantic context where, you know, men get with women hoping that they'll never change, and women get with men hoping that they will change. What you see is what you get with some people. That personality, that work ethic, all of those things combined create a persona, and I guess that's a part of the grand picture of love, is that when you love someone, you see a glimpse of what they could be at their greatest, at their peak, at their very best. When you fall in love with someone, whether it be romantically or platonically, you see that glimmer, you see that glimpse, ever so briefly, of what the very best of them could look like. And then it kind of snaps away, goes away, poof, is gone, like a mist dream. And then the journey is getting then to that point, to practice getting into that point, to get there. And there's always going to be an amount of that, I think, sure. But you're going to, and especially the more adultier we become and the adultier you're dealing with, you know, if you're dealing with people in their 30s, you're not going to have the same reaction or dedication to a thing that you will to people in their 20s. It's just a different ballgame. The older we get, the more, I don't want to say ornery we get, although we do get more ornery, but the more adamant you become in your personalities, the more adamant and set you become in your personas and in your pursuits. You know, so dealing with a 40-year-old man or woman is vastly different than dealing with somebody in their 30s or even their 20s, of course.
Is your core values no longer align? You want marriage and kids, and they say they do too, until 5 years pass and you realize they never meant it. Or maybe you've grown in your faith or your career, but they mock your beliefs or resent your ambition. You feel like you're building a life in two different directions. Love alone cannot overcome fundamental differences in life goals and values.
Yes, ma'am. That last sentence is factual as a motherfucker. Love is not enough. It is not enough. You can love somebody to the end of the earth, but if your retirement and your goals and all your values don't align, it doesn't matter anymore.
Right. Next one, you're staying out of fear, not love. You catch yourself thinking, what will people say if we break up? Or I can't start over. I've already invested so much time. But when you strip away the fear and imagine the future, you don't see happiness, you see exhaustion. You stay because the unknown scares you more than the misery that you live with. If fear is the glue holding you together, the relationship is already broken.
Yeah, I agree. That was also me for a long time. Got so much time. I don't want to start over again. It's cheaper to keep her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
Next one, they sabotage your growth or success. You share good news, a promotion, weight loss, a personal goal, and instead of celebrating, they downplay it or say something like, don't get cocky. Over time, you stop sharing your wins because you feel like you can't shine without dimming their ego. Someone who truly loves you will cheer your success, not compete with it.
Yeah. That shit needs to be, your partner should be your biggest fucking cheerleader. And you get into a relationship with anybody and you try to celebrate your wins and they shit on them, like that's a huge fucking red flag. And early in a relationship, you got to go. You got to fucking go. Don't stay in a situation like that. I will cut off friends. Like if you can't celebrate my victories with me, I can't have you in my social circle.
Right.
This is the last one.
All right. The next one is consistent emotional neglect. You have begged for connection, date nights, deep conversations, even just sitting together without distractions. But days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months and nothing is changing. You feel like a roommate instead of a partner, starving for attention in a relationship that's supposed to feel like your safe place. Emotional starvation is just as painful as any other kind of neglect.
I think it's worse.
Yeah.
Oh, it is worse.
Humans are emotional creatures.
Yes, we are.
You know what I mean? Like that being cut off and that's depression.
I know, poor timing. This book right here, Special Operations Forces Medical Handbook, I have that exact book on my shelf, by the way. I thought that was funny. I just now noticed it. Like, hey, wait a minute. That looks familiar. Aha! I have that very book.
That's feeling alone. That's feeling like I have nobody in my corner. That is true isolation. And then you wonder why you've been cut off from your family because your partner doesn't like your family, and you no longer hang out with all your friends because when you go out it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And they make you feel like all you need is them, and then the emotional disconnect happens, and you are truly fucking isolated and alone with nobody. Yeah, that's a really really rough one.
You want
Hold
to
on.
stop there?
I want to touch on that for just a second though, because that's also another good point. Not good point, but that's a double-edged sword, I think, because I have been on the batting end of that, where I've had women go, well, I don't have any family and friends anymore because of you. I sacrificed, blah, 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 friends because of you. And it's like, okay, well, now hold on a minute, because were those friends ever actually friends? Like these girlfriends that you supposedly lost due to me, did they ever celebrate your success with you, or were they just kind of a bump on a log? Like your family members that you're losing, were they ever really in your corner, or did they support you in abortion? Did they support you in fucking tie-dyeing your hair stupid colors? Did they support you in, being a fucking emotional train wreck and never having accountability for yourself? Like, I think there's definitely a goalpost there that needs to be talked about, because, while I can't say that I've necessarily lost family members over, I definitely lost a friend at one point over a relationship, and looking back, obviously, it wasn't worth the situation. I might have tried justifying it to myself at the time, and I do think that in of itself was a bit of a double-edged sword, but I digress. Like, are you losing people who are useful to you and who are going to be supportive of what you're doing and where you're trying to go in life? Or are you losing people because you're actually in a relationship where you're growing and becoming a little bit more aware, and you're actually burning off dead branches, as a matter of saying, or as a whatever? Like, are you burning off branches because they're dead and they're just causing weight to the tree? Or are you cutting off, fresh green stuff? I definitely think that's, a conversation that one needs to have with themselves to a certain degree at a certain point.
Yeah, I don't know what page we're on, but reasonable expectations in a relationship could be part 2 if you wanted to do this again.
Okay.
Amanda said, reminds me of my past, how much I've healed, and some things I've realized I need to work on still. Oh, isn't that the fucking truth? When we read through these things, there are moments where I want to tell stories about my past. And there are times that we do, but there's a lot of ugly that's just easier to leave buried. But these episodes and these conversations absolutely make me realize that I was a fucking very damaged, broken person for a very long time. It also brings up a whole lot of things that I realize I need to work on still. Like that belittling thing shouldn't have gotten to me the way that it did.
Yeah. What did you think of today's episode?
It was fun. I realize that when we do these things, I realize sometimes how much I talk.
Yeah.
And I know that's just been the way the podcast has gone because I talk a lot. But I feel guilty doing it. And there's times I just want to sit here and wait to make you speak. But I don't know. There are times that we record and I have a hard time with it. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up. We'll probably be live later on a public live. If we do, we will at the Discord so that everybody knows that we are doing it.
Yeah, and part 2 of this episode will be what I think are reasonable expectations within a relationship that some people may try to use and be manipulative towards saying you're controlling.
Is that what the rest of the document is? Mm-hmm. Reasonable expectations of a relationship? Okay,
Yeah.
I fuck with that. I really fuck with that because there's a lot of people out there who won't set boundaries because they think that it's controlling or it's not fair or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm heavy on the boundary setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was that. There's definitely some things that I agree with. I don't agree with every stand. I've watched a lot of this. I've watched a lot of To Be Better podcast. I've watched a lot of Fresh and Fit podcast. I've watched a lot of. I've watched a lot. This is, red pill content and relationships is definitely a hoard that my dragon sits on top of because this is a subject that really altered my perspective of reality. So tomorrow, we'll see. Tomorrow's Saturday. Probably Sunday night, maybe Monday. We'll go over part 2. We'll go over part 2 together because I do think that this is something worth talking about and acknowledging in that there are reasonable expectations and reasonable boundaries that one should have, and there's no excuse for any lacking in accountability on you or your partner's end, whether it's a partner platonically and obviously a good friendship, or partner as in romance and sex, of course. I could write a podcast on the topic of the almost 7 years that Sage and I were together for, and she was a very influential ex of mine, and I talk about her quite a bit, most because she was kind of the catalyst of my red pill consumption. Prior to her, I had a very vague and shallow point of view. Well, not shallow, that's the wrong word. I had a very westernized point of view towards relationships, and it wasn't until she left me that I realized there were some things that I was tolerating that I shouldn't, and there were some things that I was doing that I shouldn't have been. For example, hard conversation, and I'm not trying to blast her at all. When I talk about her in this regard, I just kind of wanted to set the stage for that. At no point am I talking shit on her, and at no point am I trying to humiliate her in any type of way. I'm just saying, as a matter of factly, these are things that have happened that really altered my point of view, and one of those is the topic of having hard conversations. This was a woman who I thought was going to be my wife one day. I was completely and utterly in love with this woman. She did things with my daughter that no other woman did. My daughter called her mother, which she has never done before with anyone or ever since. She was active in my daughter's life. She was mom for the most part. She was encouraging of the things that I was attempting to do. And she was definitely a force of power in that she kept me accountable for things that I would say and do. She was never a bump on a log. She was a beautiful mix of masculine. I don't want to call it masculine, but encouraging, I suppose, when it was needed, and quiet and meek and humble when it was needed. And there was a point where we didn't have a healthy conversation. That was at a point where 2 years into our relation, I would say, it was 2 years. 2 years into our relationship, she decided to put herself on antidepressants because she felt like she was depressed. Now, Sage suffered from some unresolved issues from her father passing away when she was 14, 15 years old. He was a biker. He, passed away in a motorcycle accident. God rest his soul. But she suffered a lot of trauma from her father passing, and that trauma manifested itself in very different ways in our relationship, and that's a topic for another time. But about 2 years into our relationship, she decided to put herself on medication. And I hate being, terribly personal, but it kind of just needs to be said because this was a big deal. Sometimes in relationships, you need to have hard conversations, embarrassing conversations. And again, this applies not only platonically, but also romantically. Sometimes you got to have a conversation with your friend. Hey, I feel disrespected. Hey, I feel disregarded. Hey, I feel like you're talking to, other, no homo. I feel like you're talking to other dudes and you're not giving me enough attention. Like, whatever. This is just as platonic as it is romantic. But I taught her how to squirt. Okay. And not to get terribly crude, but teaching women how to squirt isn't necessarily a physical thing so much as it's a mental thing. Women do these things when they're incredibly comfortable with men. So I had put her in that mindset and taught her how to do this thing, and it was something that she enjoyed doing. Now, 2 years into the relationship, she had stopped doing that. I know when she was coming because when she came, she squirted. She stopped squirting. And it was at that time that I started getting into the kink world, kink life, because she had a particular fetish for being choked to the point of passing out. And at that time, I was like, oh, that's kind of uncomfortable and weird because as someone who was physically abused in his past at different points in his life, I really have a hard time with putting hands on women. And obviously in this case, you. I can't put my hands on you like that. You're going to have to find someone else to do that for. And while that wasn't something that she did, she had made it clear that that was, a particular interest of hers. And I felt that that was not something I could fulfill. So between that and then the lack of, water hose activity, let's call it, my solution was, let's open up the relationship. Maybe you can find somebody who can do that thing for you. And maybe, I was at that time I was, finding out my particular kinks and interests at the time, and we could meet back in the middle. There was never at no point in time was there ever a conscious thought or decision about ever replacing her, trying to replace her. There was never anybody that could hold a candle up to her in that regard. There was never a replacement or a lack of emotional feelings or love. It was simply, hey, maybe this is a solution to our problem. She fought and begged, and I wish I could emphasize this enough. She begged not to be allowed to sleep with other men, not to be told to get with other men, because this was a woman who was so in love with me that she saw no other man existed to her beyond me. And in my selfishness and in my own conceitedness, I said, no, this is what we're going to do. I think this is the solution to the problem. So instead of having the hard conversation of, hey, maybe we should look at different meds. Hey, what happened? How come you felt like you needed to put yourself on medication? This was never a conversation that we had as a couple. Instead of having a very hard conversation that, may or may not have been embarrassing or maybe even eye-opening, I, as the head of my household and as the leader of my household, went a different route. And she, of course, made her own choices without us discussing it. And I kind of made our choices without discussing it. We each did that in of itself. And that kind of led to the decline. And that was the ultimate catalyst and turning point for the downward spiral of the relationship at that point in time. So my point in all that is that there are times where you need to have hard conversations. It was an important turning point for me in that as a man, as the head of your household, because you're not equals, you're not partners, that there is a hierarchy in the household. Excuse me. As someone who is in charge, it is your job to not only be responsible for you, but your partner as well, within reason. That goes without saying. But sometimes you have to be right first. And I mean, I have no excuse beyond that, that very thing. I was young and I was also very damaged at the time of her and I getting together. I was very emotionally irregulated. My daughter was gone when she was taken from me. I was going through, you know, I was going through my own, not depression, but like bouts of depression because I couldn't see Glinda. I couldn't see how I knew from her godmother that she was epileptic, um, or that she had become epileptic. I don't know. But I didn't know how she was doing. I was emotionally very regulated until I got Glinda back. There was just so much that affected her and I's relationship at that time on my end that there's just so many factors into what caused things to go bad. It was very much a combination of me and her. Uh, I would like to take most of the blame and say it was mostly me, but now looking back, I'm able to pinpoint where, well, no, look, she was doing this, this, and this too. There was definitely not a point where neither one of us couldn't have been doing better for the other to make things work. We were both absolutely at fault, but to give credit where it's due, we were also both in our early, well, her and I were 8 years apart, 5 years apart. Well, fuck. Is she Jacob's age? I don't remember. At any rate, we either 5 or 8 years apart. I forget. Um, I think she's about the same age as my little brother. Now that I think about it, but I digress. Um, we were both young. We were both, obviously not emotionally intelligent, and there were plenty of milestones where we could have learned and taken that and moved in a different way than we did at that time, and obviously we didn't. And here I am now, 5, 6 years later. But you need to take the good from the bad, and like Mr. Heaney used to say, our history teacher, you need to take the good from the bad and throw the rest away. Uh, you need to be accountable for your actions and learn where you're wrong and where you could very well possibly be right. Um, what have you been doing up until this point? At this point, where you're at in life, where wherever, whatever part of the timeline you may or may not be in. Um, oh, hey, baby. Hi, Boogie Butt.
Hi.
How are you?
Great.
I love you. Give me just a second.
Okay.
You need to be able to differentiate between where you're at in your timeline and what can benefit you and what cannot. So I digress. My daughter showed up, so I do have to cut this a bit short. I apologize. Thank you all for hanging in there. I appreciate you all. I love you. Be safe. And we will catch you Sunday night, if not Monday at some point.